12 innings. Jeff Bagwell with the reaction.
You know, obviously when you hit a game-winning home run, you get excited about it. And, we were happy the game finally ended in our favor this time, so it was obviously a big home run for us.
In the nightcap, the game was tied at 1. Butch Husky getting a start in right field puts the Mets up 2-1 with a solo homer leading off the second. A lucky number 13 for Butch. Bottom half of the 5th now. Jeff Bagwell comes through with the RBI that scores Russ Johnson. That ties the game at 2. It would be 3-2 after 5 Houston. Al Leiter on the mound gets defensive help from Edgardo Alfonso. Looking like Brooks Robinson, he makes the play to get Ricky Gutierrez and rob him of a hit. Now top of the 8th, 2 on for John Olerud. The Astros with the 1-run lead, but it ends on his home run. It came off Mike McNulty, and the Mets had a 5-3 advantage. Rubber-armed Turk Wendell came into the game and pitched 2 innings for his 3rd save of the season. Getting Bagwell to line to Baerga at second for the game-ending double play. Another comeback for Wendell and Valentine. The Mets record the 8-4 win.
I love these guys. I mean, they're playing, they're leaving the herd out. What more could you say about Turk Wendell coming in like that? I think he's pitched 100 days in a row, and he keeps going out there, and he saved the day for us. Al gave us everything he had. You know, first time 5 days rest or 4 days rest. I think it was a little different for him, but he did great. Olerud coming off the bench, you get a 3-run homer. I mean, it all worked out. These guys are just playing great. It's a great group of guys.
So the series would conclude on Wednesday evening. Mike Hampton left with the lead after 8 shutout innings, but he was nervous while Bobby Valentine watched from the Mets dugout chomping at the bit. In the 9th, Piazza, 2 on, 2 out, 2 strikes, and he homers to right center off of Billy Wagner. Emotions running high. Yet another comeback effort by the Mets. But in the bottom half of the inning, Brad Ausmus brings the faithful alive in Houston as he ties the game off of Dennis Cook. So we go to extra innings, tied at 3. In the 10th, Greg McMichael, bases loaded, strikes out Ricky Gutierrez to end the inning. That set up the 11th, and Todd Hundley comes through. A pinch hit home run to straightaway center field off of Sean Bergman, and the Mets have a 4-3 advantage. 3rd homer of the season for Hundley, and he watched as Wendell struck out the side in the bottom half of the 11th, ending the game as Russ Johnson went down swinging. The celebration is on. The Mets win 3 out of 4. Each game a classic in the Astrodome.
Matt, like I said, when I came back, just looking to contribute, to help this team out in any way possible. And, you know, that's what we're doing. You know, we're kind of flying by night right now and just doing whatever I can do. And yeah, it feels good to come up and hit a game-winning home run.
I can't take this anymore. I mean, it's really nerve-wracking. These games have been unbelievable. And, you know, you got to give credit to all of our guys. I mean, I was just fortunate to, you know, get a pitch to drive.
When that adrenaline kicks in and Hot Rod hitting the home run, I mean, you just can't help but get just a serious rush of adrenaline going through your body, and it takes your whole game to another level.
Some heart-pounding excitement from the Astrodome last year. We're at Shea for the start of a 3-game series tonight between the Mets and the Astros. Breezy, cool evening here at Shea. The Mets and Astros getting ready to start a 3-game series as the Mets' 9-game homestand continues. Now, what is it about these two teams? We just showed you the series from September of last year. You know, of course, about what went on in the National League playoffs in 1986. But it seems that every time the Mets and Astros get together, something memorable happens. Well, at this point on Geico Mets on Deck, we are going to go back 31 years for another Mets moment. With apologies to Eugene O'Neill, we'll call this version a long night's journey into day. It wasn't a baseball game that night in Houston, rather a marathon that lasted 6 hours and 6 minutes, ending at 2:37 a.m. New York time. After 23 and a half scoreless innings, the Astros won when Bob Aspromonte's bases-loaded grounder went through the legs of shortstop Al Weiss, allowing Norm Miller to score the only run of the game.
You know what I remember most about that game? When it was over, the Mets had to fly home to New York. And
and we were walking through the lobby of LaGuardia Airport at 8:45 a.m. That's what I remember the most about that. The Mets had an unusual team in that they show up in a lot of baseball history in a short period of time. They were in 3 of the 5 longest games ever played, and that's certainly the longest playoff game ever played, the game in 1986 against Houston.
A 4-game series for the ages. An eye-opener that made you love the game of baseball even more. Much was on the line. The Astros were trying to clinch a division title. The Mets were fighting for their playoff lives. At times, you could barely watch. A time for action, a time for heroes. Each pitch, each at-bat had meaning. A release of emotions, a Mets win in the opener. The Astros would have cause to celebrate the next evening. The stars would shine under the roof of the Astrodome, punctuated by a game-ending homer. But there was no quit in the Mets. The ace shut down Houston, backed by some superb defense, and the Mets had won 2 of the first 3, but the best was yet to come. The final game, down to their last out. A home run, a new life. Finally, one last shining moment for an old friend. Divine intervention, baseball style. A series of memories. A chance for more tonight on Fox Sports Net, New York. Showers dance throughout the metropolitan area today. Right now, though, no rain in sight, but there are overcast skies and cool temperatures as the Mets and Houston Astros get ready to open up their 3-game series here at Shea Stadium in Flushing, New York. Well, Mom's expecting a win from the Mets tonight, and obviously her children are on the same wavelength. The Mets fans hoping that the team can win. It would be their 6th in a row as they open up this series against the Houston Astros. A little while ago, Rick Reed told me the weather tonight doesn't matter. Light drizzle falling now, but he's just anxious to get going, and why not? He's come off the disabled list after injuring his calf in his last start, April 11th against Montreal. He struck out 3. Vladimir Guerrero was one of his victims, but when trying to stretch a single into a double, he pulled up lame, and so since then it's been time in rehab. He looks for his 2nd win tonight and his first ever against Houston. Yesterday we asked Rick how he's feeling.
Pretty good right now, but I'm sure tomorrow I'll be a little nervous. But you know, I just need to go out there and stay within myself. I know the adrenaline's going to be up, but I just need to stay within myself and do what I've done in the past, and I think everything will be okay.
So it's Reed for the Mets, Chris Holt on the hill for Houston. He's looking for his first win of the season. Comes in with an 0-3 mark and an ERA of 6.04. Derek Bell and company are ready to rock.
Matt Laughlin with you from Shea Stadium in New York, where it's cool and it's windy, and as the wind has been blowing in most of the week, so will it blow tonight. And the umpires for tonight's game brought to you by National Arbitration and Mediation. NAM, the most timely, cost-effective way to settle your legal disputes. Bruce Dreckman calls the balls and strikes with Jerry Davis at first, Jerry Lane at second, Rich Rieker at third. The wind certainly played havoc in yesterday's game, which the Mets won thanks to an 8th inning error by Ramon Martinez, the shortstop for the San Francisco Giants. The Houston Astro lineup for tonight's game is presented by their manager Larry Durker. Craig Biggio from Long Island off to another good start with Derek Bell in right. Jeff Bagwell off to a tremendous beginning to this season at first base. Ex-Met Carl Everett in center. Kent Caminiti back with the Astros at third. Richard Hidalgo, the left fielder. Paul Bacco behind the plate. Another ex-Met Timmy Bogart, the shortstop. And Chris Holt will do the pitching.
And Rick Reed on the mound for the Mets tonight. As you heard Rick, if you watched the pregame show, talking to Matt Laughlin about being a little bit nervous, you can understand that. Of course, Rick needs complete composure because he relies on excellent control.
And the first hitter he'll go after, Craig Biggio. Off to another real good start to this season with 10 doubles, which gives him the National League lead in that department. Biggio, a native of Long Island. And the 1-0 from Reed. Fastball over at the knees, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Look at the pine tar on Biggio's bat, all the way up to the label of the bat. I'm surprised he would do that because it would retard the progress of the ball, the velocity coming off the bat. Plus, that's freshly squeezed pine tar right there. Jeez.
Nothing but the best. 2-1 to Biggio.
But I can understand what he's got. He's got a lot of tape on his bat, and that's unusual in itself because you don't see bats taped up in the major leagues. Now you get the pine tar above the tape, but you need the pine tar for the gloves because you want to have that tight grip on the bat. You want the gloves to be comfortable.
Below the knees, 3-1. None of that concentrated stuff for Craig Biggio. It's the real deal.
It's the real deal.
And concentration certainly something that Rick Reed will focus on tonight. Bobby Valentine was telling me before the game that it's not exactly a post-spring training situation, but right there a rarity. Reed walking a batter, let alone Biggio, let alone anybody.
And Biggio with real good speed. Now he can steal some bases. He has not been that aggressive so far this year. Bobby Valentine looking on.
The thing I asked Bobby was, is he going to be on a pitch count or are you going to watch his innings early on? And he said, really at this point, Reed's going to make that determination. It's going to be an inning by inning thing with him.
I'm sure that he'll be talking to Bobby Valentine and Bob Apodaca. As far as pitches are concerned, he's the best judge of how many pitches he can throw. He didn't hurt his arm. He hurt his leg.
So now Derek Bell. Biggio back to first. You have to pay attention to Biggio.
That defense for the New York Mets tonight. You see Oliver, Alfonso, Ordonez, and Ventura in the infield. Cedeno, McCray, Kincaid, left, right in the outfield, Piazza behind the plate. And just a few minutes ago, Kincaid was inserted in the lineup. Bobby Bonilla was scheduled to start in right.
Bell takes a strike, 0-1.
Well, last year, we're going to take a look. Now, there's Mike Kincaid. He said, what am I doing in this ball game? I was just sitting in the clubhouse, relaxing. And there was keep in mind, Derek Bell with a lot of power last year. Derek Bell, 108 RBIs, 22 home runs.
Off the plate, 1-1. Runner at first, Craig Biggio, 6 stolen bases already this year. Always a threat to steal.
Tough situation. You really like to give Biggio a chance to run, but you got a guy at the plate, Derek Bell, who likes to swing that bat. He's very aggressive, and he likes that second hole. Does not like to bat fourth, and Larry Dirker's tried him there this year.
1-2 now to Bell.
It's amazing how a major league player is comfortable in a particular situation. As you see Derek Bell's stats, 4 home runs, 16 RBIs. And then, for example, this guy you figure would be a great number 4 hitter, but he has talked to Larry Dirker and does not want to bat fourth. And I mentioned his production, 108 RBIs from a second place hitter and 22 home runs last year. That's pretty impressive.
He will strike out, a high strikeout hitter. And another one there. First for Reed, 1 man away. So good comeback by Rick Reed after walking Biggio.
And Rick Reed showing good velocity inside and above the belt on Derek Bell. Threw the ball right by him. Keep in mind, last year it looked like that same pitch that Bell hit out in a dramatic home run in Houston. Scouting report on Rick Reed. Get his work and just keep the team in the game. Keep things simple tonight.
Nothing simple, though, about dealing with Jeff Bagwell. He's on a 9-game hitting streak, going after the first pitch, fouling it back, 0-1.
He's been on fire, and Howie, you mentioned him in the open, and the only guy hotter than Bagwell so far this year, Matt Williams, who was just voted the Player of the Month in the National League. He's been on fire, but Bagwell is an outstanding all-around player. Very good defensively at first base.
Matt Williams with 10 home runs. Bagwell has 8. Bagwell tied for 4th in the league in that department. His 22 RBIs tie him for 3rd in the National League. And a fly ball right field. The wind will play havoc with it, but the wind basically blowing in. Kincaid there for the second out.
You know, one thing that Jeff Bagwell does, he's an outstanding offensive player. If you compare him and John Olerud, they both look very good swinging that bat. Now you see Jeff Bagwell's front foot, it goes back, and then he comes through with his hands. And he pops the ball up. He was just a little bit behind on that ball. But his front foot, it's amazing, will go back, plant, and then his hips come through. It's a torque where that body spins, and he's got to be awfully strong to hit that way. Now, the picture-perfect swing is the first baseman with the Mets, who we'll watch later on, John Olerud.
Carl Everett, a former Met with good power. 0-1 to Carl. Everett, the everyday center fielder for the Astros, who are without Moises Alou, perhaps for the entire season, although Alou's been making some noise about coming back as soon as the month of August, but that's downplayed by members of the Houston front office who feel they'll be lucky to get Alou back at all. So Everett's playing center field, and Richard Hidalgo is playing left field every day.
Without Alou, they are leading the league in batting.
0-1 to Everett. He tried to hold his swing, and he did, according to third base ump Rich Rieker.
Well, Carl Everett was a guy that Jerry Hunsaker, when he was assistant general manager here in New York, he liked Carl Everett's abilities, and he picked him up last year. Carl did a nice job in Houston. He's hoping that Carl Everett will be more consistent this year.
Below the knees, 2-1.
When Everett was with the Mets, he was inconsistent. And he was inconsistent last year at Houston. But Alou, by the way, was injured supposedly while he was jogging on a treadmill. Now, he also likes to play basketball, so there has been some wondering whether or not he did play basketball.
Fouled off, 2-2. Moises Alou gave a very detailed description of what happened on the treadmill to the doctor. And as skeptical as some in the Astros organization might have been, the doctor said that the explanation was so specific and so believable that they've basically just shrugged their shoulders and said, listen, we've got to live with it. Nothing's going to change about the injury or diagnosis. So.
Too specific. Now watch this. You don't want this if you're a catcher. Mike Piazza going down after the ball, foul tip right off that shoulder. There is a little bit of padding there, but not very much.
So Piazza hangs in. It's 2-2 to Everett. Biggio leading from first with 2 outs. And the pitch on the way. Got him. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Rick Reed. A leadoff walk to Biggio and nothing more. So in the middle of the first, the Astros nothing, and here come the Mets.
Pretty good with his control, and as he mentioned earlier, he's a little bit nervous coming into tonight's game.
So now it's Chris Holt on the mound for the Houston Astros. No wins, 3 losses this year, and his first pitch sails on Roger Cedeno, 1-0. Cedeno giving Ricky Henderson the night off. He's day-to-day with a slightly bruised knee that he suffered in yesterday's game against the Giants.
Yeah, Ricky was relaxing that knee downstairs in the clubhouse prior to the ball game, watching video of baseball games the Mets put up on the monitor in the clubhouse.
That's hit hard, a base hit for Cedeno.
Well, this is a good situation for the Mets. Put Cedeno in motion, and
Mets lineup presented by manager Bobby Valentine. You've seen Cedeno, now Alfonso at second, followed by Olerud at first. Piazza in the cleanup spot with Robin Ventura at third, Mike Kincaid replacing Bonilla in right field. McRae, Ordonez, and Reed round out the Mets lineup.
We'll see if Chris Holt can keep Cedeno close to first base. Holt has a fastball and a big breaking curveball. The Astros want to throw more.
Cedeno running the throw, not in time, and Roger Cedeno on the first pitch has stolen second base.
Well, Roger Cedeno, who's talked to Ricky Henderson about stealing bases a lot this year, gets a good jump off first base, and the throw is not in time to get Cedeno a little bit in front of the base. Paul Bacco, the catcher, with the throw, and Cedeno gets that foot in there.
So now Alfonso with a runner in scoring position. And the bunt foul, 1-1.
I know that that's the way you got to play it. You get your second hitter up. You want to move the runner along He drove in 70 runs last year. He's got 9 RBIs right now. He's an offensive threat. He's an offensive producer of runs. So it's got to be tough to have Alfonso bunting a runner over when he can drive him in from second base.
You got to get Holt early, and that's not to say necessarily that he's going to settle down and pitch much better later in the game, but teams have beat him early this year. A bouncer to the left side, that will not advance the runner. Caminetti throws out Alfonso, and there's one man out. John Olerud coming up now, and he was one of the linchpins in that memorable series last year in Houston.
Yeah, what a series it was. Here's a 3-run home run off the bat of John Olerud. Talking to Jerry Hunsaker before the game, I said, what'd you think of that series? He said, unbelievable. Talked about Olerud and Piazza and his team, and it was just a well-played series. And the amazing thing about it, the excitement generated by that series, the Astros had already clinched.
Olerud lays off 1-0. But to tell you about Chris Holt, why it's not necessarily imperative to get him early, but it's certainly become a habit. Teams have hit 500 against him in the first inning. When most of the runs that he's given up have been scored, he's had some awful starts. 1-1 now to John Olerud.
Well, behind Holt, defensively, Bagwell, Biggio, Bogar, and Caminetti in the infield. Hidalgo, Everett, and Bell left to right in the outfield. Paco behind the plate. Caminetti, 5 of team's 15 errors. He has struggled because of a sore ankle.
Slowly hit foul, 1-2.
Caminetti said he cannot brace because of that bad ankle, but he was a good ball player. He's been a good player for a number of years in the National League, and one of the reasons the Astros signed him is he wasn't demanding as far as his contract was concerned. They gave him 2 years, where the Padres only wanted to give him 1, but he has been struggling defensively because of a sore ankle.
Caminetti, originally in the Astro organization, part of that big deal with the San Diego Padres several years back, and that's where he really blossomed. 1-2 to Olerud. Inside, almost hit him.
Well, we talked about Bagwell at the plate, how unorthodox it is to see that front leg come back. Watch how, well, this pitch here will be way inside on Olerud. And if you're going to get hit where Olerud tried to take that in the thigh. But when Olerud's got his good swing, it's as pretty as anybody in baseball.
And the 2-2 just off the inside corner. Holt looked like he wanted that one. So now the count full on John Olerud with Piazza on deck.
You know, the Mets have a program, as you look at Larry Durker, who was manager of the year last year, and he's unhappy with the call. You can't allow those pitchers to second-guess umpires, ex-pitchers.
Holds his swing and keeps a streak alive, because now John Olerud has been on base in every game the Mets have played this year.
And a guy coming to the plate has absolutely been on fire throughout his career when he's played against the Astros. And I asked Mike Piazza about those numbers before the ball game. He said he tries not to focus on them. You're not typical player reaction. You don't want to really emphasize your numbers, but look at those numbers. Well, second best average in the National League against the Astros.
And so the Astros might prove to be the perfect tonic for Piazza based on history, because here at home he's still trying to find his timing again after the 2 weeks on the disabled list. In truth, though, he had the biggest hit so far on the entire homestand, a home run to win a game against the Padres and start the Mets on this 5-game winning streak.
And that home run gave the whole organization a lift. You could just feel the atmosphere change here at Shea Stadium. Hit that ball a long way off Trevor Hoffman over the right field fence.
1-1 to Mike Piazza.
Well, he's one of the most powerful hitters in baseball. Look at the way the defense sets up, shading Piazza the other way, and all the teams seem to do that. They shade him the other way, and they play him deep.
And the 1-1 pitch. Grounded through the hole, a base hit into left field. Here comes Cedeno around to score. Stopping at second is Olerud. RBI single for Mike Piazza. The Mets are leading by a score of 1-0.
And that's what Mike needs. That's what he needs to get going. I mean, it takes a while when you're out 2 weeks. He was hot prior to his injury, and right there picking up a base hit and driving in a run. And we showed you the stats about how hot he has been against the Astros throughout his career. And right here, Holt goes inside, and Piazza gets ahead of the bat and gets it into the hole, driving in a run. So that will relax Mike Piazza. Another shot in the hole, and Cedeno with that good speed, no play at home plate. So that's what a hitter needs to come out of a slump, just a base hit, driving a run.
And the stolen base pays off. Robin Ventura now takes ball 1 from Holt. Ventura with 21 RBIs, tied for 5th in the league. And the first inning problems for Chris Holt continue. 1-0 to Robin. And he takes a strike that evens the count. Ventura with 6 runs batted in over his last 4 games. Nice stop by Baco. It's 2-1. Boy, it's going to be hard to get one out of here tonight. In fact, the way the outfield was playing Piazza, although they certainly did play him the other way, which a lot of teams will, in deference to his tremendous power to the opposite field. Here they're basically playing Ventura straight up. The wind over the last few days has been pretty consistent. It's been blowing balls across from left to right field.
If Piazza hits his best bolt, it's going out of here.
Well, you know what he did yesterday, and it stayed in. There's a line drive, base hit for Ventura. Olerud had a hold at second, so now Cookie Rojas will put up the stop sign at third, and the Mets have the bases loaded.
Well, Robin Ventura hitting the ball right back up the middle. The runner on second base will dictate whether or not you're going to send him around, and also the next hitter. Here's Ventura hitting the ball into center field. John Olerud did not get a real big jump off second base. He doesn't have real good speed, so they held him at third. You see Olerud, he wasn't sure. Now he takes off. He says, you know what, I can only get to third base. He picks up Cookie, and Cookie Rojas holds him at third, so the bases are loaded for Mike Kincaid.
So the Mets looking to build on this 1-0 lead. And the Astros now will play Kincaid the other way, which a lot of teams are starting to do too, because Kincaid has shown that he'll hit a lot of balls to right field. In fact, that's where his home run went earlier in the week, his first major league home run. But you were talking, Fran, about Piazza hitting a ball as hard as he can. He certainly did yesterday in the 8th inning against John Johnstone. And everybody in the park thought it was going out, but it was caught at the wall in left center.
His best bolt's going out of this park. Nothing's holding that guy.
So you think he could do even better than the one he hit against the wind yesterday?
I mean, this guy's got as much power as anybody I've ever seen in a game, including Mark McGwire, and he hits the ball as far as anybody. Here's a good pitch from Holt, just catching the corner, and now you see why Biggio had all that pine tar in his bat. Mike Kincaid with the gloves. He said, maybe I'll get some pine tar. Oh, he does that. Here's a little bit, not too much.
A 1-1 pitch. Well, he challenged him upstairs.
You know
and
what?
Now the count of ball and 2 strikes.
You see what he immediately did? He went up with his gloves to put it on a pine tar again. It looked to me like that bat was going to come out of his hand again. Going back onto that pine tar with those gloves. It's one of the dilemmas of batting gloves. You need a lot of pine tar. His first swing, the bat flew out of his hand. Second swing, it looked like it was going to fly. And his immediate reaction, pine tar.
Fouls off a breaking ball, still 1-2. Next with 3 hits and a run here in the first inning.
We have seen Kincaid, who has a, as you look at Ventura, you get 3 men on base, Olerud, Piazza, and Ventura. Seen Kincaid hit the ball a long way the other way.
Kincaid holds his swing, 2-2. When the Astros staff has needed a strikeout, they've been able to get it. In fact, Astro pitchers have struck out more batters than any team in the National League. The Mets pitchers rank 2nd in that department. So Holt trying to muscle up here with the bases loaded. 2-2 to Kincaid, and he just gets a piece.
That's the big curveball. It's a knuckle curveball that Holt has. And the Astros were a little bit upset in a couple of his outings where he didn't pitch well. He stayed away from this pitch. Now, this is a money pitch for him. Knuckle curveball. Look at a break on that. Kincaid, it's right on the top of that ball. But the Astros like this kid because of that knuckle curveball. And he got away from it. He's been throwing his fastball and his slider.
Again, a 2-2 pitch, and this time it hits either Kincaid or the bat, and I believe Kincaid, and it did hit him, and so a run will score.
Look at his hand. I mean, he got that hand will shake. He get hit, I guess, in the wrist area. But as they say, he took it for the team, and John Olerud scores the second run of the ball game for the Mets. Right in the wrist. And he was not happy because he knows there's a possibility of a break.
The Astros, of course, saw the ball rolling into fair territory and took nothing for granted, trying to make a play, but home plate umpire Bruce Dreckman threw those arms up and said Kincaid had been hit.
It's going to be tough to get Kincaid out of this lineup. He fought hard to make the ball club in spring training. He has seen some action, and he's done rather well when he gets an opportunity to play. He was a last-minute replacement tonight for Bobby Bonilla, so I'm sure it's going to be tough to convince him to lead this game. Here's that fastball after the curveball. Now Holt goes up and in, and Kincaid couldn't get out of the way, and he hit him right on the wrist. Look at, he's not, I don't blame him, boy. Wow. That ball just kept running in on him.
So the bases remain loaded. Kincaid gets an RBI the hard way. The Mets have a 2-0 lead, and Brian McRae, who hit a grand slam over the weekend, up with the bases loaded again. Fastball taken away, 1-0. The home run on Saturday was the 5th grand slam of Brian's career. It came off of Jerry Spradlin. So you've got Piazza, Ventura, and Kincaid aboard as Brian McRae fouls it off to the left side, 1-1.
Well, Vern Rule now going out to talk to the young right-hander. Chris Holt is a pitcher who missed a complete year last year with an arm problem. And Vern Rule, the pitching coach with the Astros. Brian McRae Saturday hits the ball over the right field wall. A grand slam for the New York Mets. And Brian McRae and Shea Stadium was rocking. He was rocking again yesterday. And now Brian McRae is at the plate with the bases loaded once again.
No, Vern Rules had to wear out a path from the dugout to the pitching mound in first innings. Of course, you can only go out there once before you have to take the pitcher out. But it's kind of perplexing why a pitcher would have so many problems early and then settle down. I mean, they'd say that about some of the outstanding pitchers in the league over time. The Carltons, the Gibsons, the Seavers, you had to get them early or you weren't going to get them at all. 1-1 to McRae outside, and even though Holtz had first inning problems, he's been able to settle in somewhat after that.
If you take a look at him, he's a young player who missed it last season. Well, I should say he's not that young. He's about 27 years old, but he's a guy that, I mean, he's still feeling his way. He's trying to really make this ball club right now. I mean, best scenario for Jerry Hunsaker and the Astros, they wanted Holt to start the season in New Orleans, their AAA affiliate.
2-2 now to McRae.
And Rick Reed mentioned how he'd be nervous tonight. When Rick Reed went on the mound, he walked the first hitter, and then he got Derek Bell on a strikeout. Chris Holt went out there. I'm sure he's nervous, but Roger Cedeno got a base hit. That doesn't help if you're the pitcher.
So 2-2 with the bases loaded. McRae asks for time. The Mets will miss the current ace of the Astros staff, Shane Reynolds, who won his 5th game yesterday. Astros in for 2 more games after this one. So they'll see Mike Hampton, the left-hander, and Sean Bergman, the right-hander. Al Leiter and Bobby Jones round out the Mets rotation against Houston. 2-2 to McRae with the bases loaded here in the first inning. And he hangs in. So Mike Piazza, the runner at third, he drove in the first run with a ground ball single. Robin Ventura is at second. He too singled, and then Kincaid was hit by a pitch. And again, a 2-2 pitch, and the breaking ball lined into right field for a base hit. Piazza scores. Ventura being waved home. He'll score as Bell bobbles the ball. 4-0 New York here in the first inning.
Well, it's an exciting series once again, at least if you're a Met fan. If you're an Astro fan, you're hoping for an exciting series, the Astros and the Mets. Larry Turk is not happy. So Mike Piazza with a single and an RBI. And here's Brian McRae driving in 2 runs, just slapping that ball in the right field. Derek Bell coming in, and When he came up to throw, he dropped it, so 2-run score, and the Mets now have a 4-0 lead. Good swing by Brian McRae. Just releasing that bat after making contact and following through with one hand. Similar to what his dad did when he worked under Charlie Lau with the Kansas City Royals.
Ordonez, the 8th batter in the inning, takes a strike. Kincaid stopped at second on the base hit by McRae, so the Mets with runners at first and second. And Ordonez trying to build the average back up. He's got 7 for his last 22. They'll look for 2 on the infield. Will they get it here? Slowly hit. The only play to first. Caminetti double clutched, and a nice pick by Bagwell. Caminetti almost lost that play altogether.
We showed you a graphic earlier. 5 errors of the 15 errors by the Astros. Caminetti has 5, struggling with that bad ankle, and that can turn into a confidence problem after a while. He double clutch, had trouble getting the ball out of the glove. I mean, it can start with an injury, then you can end up with a confidence problem. You see him double clutch, he bounces the ball. Nice scoop by Bagwell, and that is not an easy hop to catch.
So Caminetti obviously frustrated, but now the 9th man in the inning, pitcher Rick Reed takes a big cut, 0-1.
Well, they have to be careful with Reed here. He's the type of guy, the way he swings that bat, he can pop that ball in the outfield and drive in 2 runs, give the Mets a 6-0 lead.
Reed does have a base hit this year. It was as a base runner that he aggravated the calf injury that's kept him out for the last few weeks. And then that was exacerbated, as you look at Kincaid at third and McRae at second, by a virus or a touch of the flu that set him back some more. That's slowly hit. It's going to kick foul.
I talked about how Holt has been disappointing to Larry Durker and Vern Rule because he will not go with that curveball. They want him to throw it a little bit more. Here's a situation. You're pitching to the opposing pitcher as you look at Durker and Rule looking on. It's 1-2 on Rick Reed. Now, this is a key spot. There are 2 runners out there that can score a base hit, and Holt has that good curveball. Toughest pitch to hit is that breaking ball. For an everyday player, you can imagine how difficult it is for a pitcher to hit because they don't see it that often. See if Holt throws it.
It'll be a 1-2 pitch, and again Reed fouls it off.
He threw the slider, and Holt with a good knuckle curve.
Astros came in having won 4 in a row. They swept the 3-game series in Miami against the Marlins over the weekend. But the Mets off to a big start. And Reed continues to battle Holt. It's 3 straight foul balls now by the Mets pitcher.
And Holt once again with the slider. Talking about how the Astros did, the Mets swept the Giants, who had one of the best records in all of baseball coming into the weekend series.
1-2 pitch. To the right side, Bagwell takes it himself, and the side retired, but the Mets bat around, and Rick Reed can stick 4 runs into his pocket, 2 of them thanks to McRae.
Fueled by fan power. Step into the action in your official team apparel from the Mets clubhouse shops. It's the real thing. Baseball caps, jackets, jerseys, just like the Mets wear. It's all here at the Mets clubhouse shops. Get the new look Mets collectibles and tickets to Mets home games. Mets fan power, the most powerful force on earth. Step into the action with your official team apparel from the Mets clubhouse shops. Roosevelt Field and Menlo Park malls, and our new flagship location at 143 East 54th Manhattan.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by the new Dodge. It's about change. The Mets batted around in the first inning, scoring 4 runs off of Chris Holt. Nice cushion for Rick Reed, making his first start in 3 weeks. So Chris Holt continues to lament those early problems. Mets with 4 hits. He hit a batter, which allowed a run to score. And now Reed will go to work against Ken Caminetti, Richard Hidalgo, and the catcher Paul Bucco here in the second. Upstairs and off the glove of Piazza, 1-0 to Ken Caminetti.
Pretty good velocity right there. Rick Reed ordinarily doesn't do that to the catcher. As you look at Caminetti's numbers, he's supposedly a leader on the ball club.
What do you mean supposedly?
Well, he's a big public relations move to bring him back to Houston. Well,
I thought you were taking a shot.
No. You know what a real leader is in a ball club, in my opinion, is a guy that produces on the field. You don't really have to talk much. You just produce on the field, and you're a leader. I think in baseball, that word might be overrated a bit.
Well, I'll give you an example of if leading by example means leadership. 3 years ago, when the Mets and the San Diego Padres played in Monterrey, Mexico.
I knew you were going to bring this up. That Snickers. You're plugging Snickers again.
I love Snickers bars, but Caminetti likes them a little better. The thing is, 2-1 pitch in there for a strike. Caminetti got so sick, not from the candy, but from the food or the water, that he had to be fed intravenously. And he was lying on the floor in the Astros clubhouse with an IV tube running through him before the game, got up and had 3 huge games. Didn't bother him a bit.
Now,
at least in terms of his performance.
Okay, the biggest thing is his performance was superb, so he led by example.
Yeah.
If he went out there and had 3 bad games, he could eat as many Snickers as he wants, and he wouldn't be a leader.
But he could have blamed it on the food or, just being sick from whatever source.
Yeah.
And everybody would believe it. Well, that ball backed up, but just missed. So Rick Reed not only has walked 2, he's walked both leadoff hitters. Biggio in the first, and now Caminetti here in the second. Reed's calf problem was not created in Montreal. It was, in fact, an aggravation of an existing injury, which he suffered in spring training. In fact, he came out of 1 spring training game early, continued to throw on the side, do some more side work after that game. But it was never quite 100%. Then he tweaked it running the bases, and that set him back. Upstairs to Richard Hidalgo.
Well, the Mets took no chances this time. They wanted him completely healed. They need him in their rotation.
Rick's first start was in game 2 of the season. He gave him 6 real good innings against the Marlins. That's looped. Late start for McRae, and he gets there.
See, Howie, you were mentioning before that no ball's going out of this ballpark, so therefore the wind is blowing in. If McRae was listening to you right there, he'd have busted in right away. Because the ball kind of deceived McRae. You can see him on the monitor, see him in center field, he starts back and he comes in. Howie mentioned that wind a little while ago.
Well, you see, here on Fox Sports Net New York, we consider ourselves a full-service operation.
Meteorologists.
So, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. So Hidalgo retired, and now the catcher, Paul Bacco. They got him from Detroit in the Brad Osmus trade. In fact, the Astros would not make the deal unless they inserted Bacco.
I'll bet you the Astros did not want to make that deal. He probably, I believe, the salary might have been a little bit too high for Osmus, so they might have been forced to trade him. They were able to get Bacco. He had to be part of the deal. And he had a decent year last year with the Tigers. He was called up and took over the catching duties in Detroit. But the Astros were reluctant to trade Brad Osmus.
Reed misses 2-0. Bacco replacing Mitch Molesky on the Astros roster. He was a pretty impressive offensive-minded rookie, Molesky was. He had a little trouble coming to grips with becoming a full-time catcher in the major leagues, but they had committed to him doing a lot of the catching this year, but he's got a shoulder problem, which may require surgery.
They're going to know in 2 weeks about Molesky. He has a loose shoulder. That's what they term it, and they're going to find out in 2 weeks if there's any improvement. If not, they're going to operate. He's going to be out for the year.
And apparently it's a genetic thing, too, because he's had problems with his left shoulder. So he's had problems now with both shoulders, and Paul Bacco simply taking advantage, splitting the catching with Tony Eusebio. 2-1 delivery, foul to the left side. Well, you mentioned Jerry Hunsaker, the general manager of the Astros. He's done a marvelous job with his ball club when you consider that they don't consider themselves a high-revenue team right now. They probably will once they get into their new ballpark next year, but, you know, he's had to juggle certain players around based on financial considerations. The Astros have had 6 straight winning seasons.
He's done a fine job as general manager with the Astros. That new stadium, no AstroTurf in Houston. The AstroTurf is history.
Lined into left field. So Bacco has the first hit for the Astros. Caminetti stops at second. Houston with 2 aboard here in the second inning and 1 out.
I see Rick Reed so far pitching up in the strike zone. And right there you get the ball up, and Bacco hit the ball the other way, hit the ball hard. Rick Reed usually makes his living running the ball away from those left-handers. He got that one to run away, but it was up in the zone where Bacco could go the other way.
So the number 8 hitter, former Met Tim Bogar, finds himself playing quite a bit of shortstop these days in the absence of Ricky Gutierrez.
Another acquisition by Jerry Hunsaker. He knew Bogar as a member of the Mets.
And the breaking ball, 0-1.
And Bogar has been doing a steady job for the Astros. He really had the job coming out of spring training in 1998, but Gutierrez beat him out. And Gutierrez had a solid season with the Astros, but this year he got hurt. He's on the DL, and Bogar's seen a lot of playing time.
Well, Gutierrez has a fractured left hand. He's only been on for about a week, on meaning the DL, so probably going to miss another month at least. So a lot of playing time for Bogar. Another former Met, Billy Spires, who was here when Jerry Hunsaker was here, will play not only at shortstop as he did yesterday, but also at third base on occasion to spell Ken Caminetti. Nothing and 2 on Timmy Bogar. Pitcher due up next. Off the outside corner, put the fastball there, hoping Bogar would chase it.
So Jerry Hunsaker, who's always had a great relationship with Steve Phillips, here we got him on camera. We're going to find out. Are they talking trade? Do you read lips?
Not that well.
It'd be funny if they brought their hands up over their mouths like the catchers.
I read lips much better about a week before the deadline. 1-2 pitch. Bogar hits it in the air pretty well to center. McRae fighting the wind. It continues to carry. And on to third now will go Caminetti. And there's an example again of what we told you about in terms of the wind patterns here over the last few days. Blowing left to right. The ball was hit well. And it basically took it from dead center over towards right center on McRae.
And McRae watching that ball all the way and makes the grab. Caminetti getting back to second base and tagging up. You see Tim Bogar hitting the ball, looked right directly center field, that wind playing havoc with the ball, and the ball really carrying to the warning track in right center field. I didn't think the ball was hit that well to travel that far.
That's why this ballpark is so unpredictable, because balls occasionally will just catch in a jet stream, and that one appeared to do so. So the pitcher, Chris Holt, 4 runs down, hits for himself and takes ball 1.
Well, Mike Piazza now going out to talk to Rick Reed. Here comes Bob Apodaca. So there was probably a discussion in the dugout, maybe about the health of Rick Reed.
Well, Bobby Valentine said before the game they're going to go inning by inning with him.
The other thing is, if it's mechanical, he's probably rushing himself because, as he mentioned to Matt Laughlin in a pregame show, he could be over anxious, could be nervous, and when that happens, you rush that body out there and your arm just doesn't catch up. Rick Reed relies on rhythm. When that rhythm is off, you got a problem doing just about anything on a baseball diamond.
Reed trying to find his. Behind the pitcher, 1-0. That just missed the outside corner. That was not a bad pitch.
No, that was a Rick Reed pitch right there. Now, last year, keep in mind, he was getting that pitch. And they're going to enforce the catchers to stay in the catcher's box. So catchers really can't go out and give that target off the plate. Rick was pitching off the plate at times last year.
Typical movement on his pitch. It'll run back into a right-hander. Of course, he didn't want to get it that far in. And now Reed behind Holt, 3-0. And you know this is not Rick Reed. Generally speaking, he'll walk just about a batter over 9 innings when he's healthy and when he's right. He's already walked 2 here. He's behind the pitcher, 3-0. That fastball is right there.
Well, you mentioned the weather here, the wind blowing in, so you get a pitcher at the plate. You might as well throw it out over the plate, let him hit it as hard as he can, up in the air, and get a fly ball. Mike Piazza told Rick Reed, shake your head no.
At the knees, 3-2.
When you see a catcher shake his head no, that means he and the pitcher are on the same page too much. You want the hitter to think, so you're telling the pitcher, shake me off, and then I'll give you the sign.
Automatic start for the runner at first, Baco. Runners at the corners, and the payoff pitch to Holt. Line to base hit to right center. Caminetti scores. Baco on his way to third. An RBI single by the pitcher, Chris Holt. And it's now 4-1 New York.
Well, that's what Rick Reed's got to do. It's a 3-2 pitch and a pitcher. You got to throw him a fastball and throw a strike. He got into Holt's area where he could handle the ball. The ball was up, and Holt hits the ball hard in the right center field. managers and pitching coaches can live with that a lot easier than they can live with a walk, especially to the opposing pitcher.
So with 2 out and runners at the corners again, back to the top of the order, and Craig Biggio, who drew a walk in the first inning. Breaking ball, and that's tapped foul. Past third base coach Mike Cubbage just to handle those same chores with the Mets. Biggio's been hot lately, 15 out of his last 46.
He's got 10 doubles this year. He now leads the Astros in career doubles with over 300. Played his collegiate ball at Seton Hall University.
And a baseball rarity by most standards. A converted catcher now playing second base.
That's unbelievable.
Came up and in on him, and it's 0-2.
And he made a great transition. He's very smooth to second base. He got some help from a St. John's graduate, Matt Galante, who's a coach at the Astros, worked very hard with the Beige.
As Biggio got tired of hearing how well he ran for a catcher.
So he runs well for a second baseman now.
Especially well for a second baseman. Ridiculously well for a catcher.
Yeah.
So Reed ahead here, 0-2. Fly ball left field. Kincaid over, and the side retired. So 1 run, 2 hits. The Astros leave 2, middle of the second. 4-1 New York.
Innings. You see Mike Kincaid, looks like Scott Lawrenson, the assistant trainer with the Mets, checking out that wrist. Now, he's trying him out for strength. That's a problem. It's either a problem now or it's going to be a major problem tomorrow when you get hit in that wrist. Mike Kincaid fought and made the team in spring training. He's still fighting to stay in the lineup.
Roger Cedeno takes a fastball. You might have noticed on the last play of the top of the second inning, Mike Kincaid and not Roger Cedeno make the catch of the fly ball hit by Craig Biggio. Cedeno and Kincaid flip-flop. In the first inning, Cedeno, I believe, was in left field and Kincaid in right. Kincaid replacing Bobby Bonilla in the starting lineup. 1-1 to Roger Cedeno, leading off the Mets second. Fran, this is just a guess, but I think back to a game last week when the Padres were in. And again, the wind was blowing just as it is tonight. It took a ball from right center field way over towards the right field line, and Cedeno really had to bust it to get over there. I wonder if that's why Bobby Valentine, I believe, made the change midstream tonight, getting Cedeno and his outstanding speed over to right field, flip-flopping with Kincaid.
Well, that could be the reason, because of the ball will be tailing away from the outfielder. Cedeno has much better speed than Kincaid, plus the ball has hit the left field, as you mentioned before, might have trouble leaving the ballpark, so Kincaid will have to come in for a lot of those balls. But Cedeno clearly the better defensive outfielder, good speed, good throwing arm. Big question mark, and only he's going to answer the question, can he hit in the major leagues? If he does, it's going to be a pretty good threat for the Mets.
Payoff pitch, slowly hit. They're going to have to hurry. Nice stop by Biggio, and he just did get him.
The only way he could do it. Biggio charges the ball, plays it off to the side. Now, if he comes in and tries to get in front of that ball like you taught 40 years ago, doesn't get the speedy Roger Cedeno. Watch this. He comes in, turning his body, playing it off to the side, and shuffles it to Bagwell. At first, they just get Cedeno. Biggio, a Gold Glove winner at second base. Watch him turn that body, and he starts towards first.
Alfonso finds the hole the other way. So a one-out single by Edgardo Alfonso, and that's the 5th hit for New York off of Holt.
You know, Howie, earlier we were talking about leadership. Alfonso told me he wants to be a leader on the Met Ball Club, and this is the way he's going to be a leader. After a few years of doing things like this, Alfonso is going to be a leader. He's going to be a 300 hitter. He's going to hit 20 home runs, and depending on where he hits in the lineup, he's going to drive in a lot of runs. But he'll be a quiet leader.
Well, John Olerud, if you look at him for leadership, it would certainly be of the quiet variety.
Absolutely.
Because his performance speaks volumes.
Yeah, and he is a leader in this ball club. I mean, you follow this guy by example. He's got an outstanding swing. He can hit you 300, hit 20 home runs. He can drive in close to 100 runs, and he's an outstanding defensive player. His only liability, you don't want to put him in a foot race.
Way outside, 1-1. Olerud, last time up, drew a walk, keeping his streak alive of being on base in every game the Mets have played. And his batting average now is higher than it was at the end of last year when he set a Met record at 354. But those are pretty consistent numbers no matter who he plays. Off the inside corner, 2-1.
He claims that his success right now is because of his balance at the plate. And he said everything looks slow to him. You know, it's funny, if you're hitting the ball pretty well, the ball looks a lot bigger than it is. And when you're not hitting the ball well, it's awfully small. But boy, is he locked in right now.
Alfonso not running, and the off-speed pitch taken outside.
I mean, we've talked about it in the past. To be able to take a guy like John Olerud and put him out at first base, he's going to play 150 to 160 games a year. He's going to be consistent all year. I mean, what a trade that was with the Toronto Blue Jays. And then on deck, Mike Piazza's magnificent trade with the Marlins.
3-1 to Olerud, lifted in the air to center. The left fielder, Hidalgo, waves off Everett. And it's Hidalgo making the catch. Back to first goes Alfonso, 2 men away.
Well, we talked about Piazza's ability to turn this wind around here at Shea. One of the reasons you would say he could do it, take a look back at the series in Houston last year. Longest home run in the history of the Houston Astrodome. Mike Piazza scorching the ball in that great series, September 14th, 1998. And he hit that ball 9 miles.
480 feet to be exact off of Jose Lima. That was one of those message-type home runs, too, because it came in the very first inning and certainly was the prelude to what would become 3 days of tremendously exciting baseball.
And yet, the thing he really remembers is the defensive play. He said that stands out in his mind because he's never done that defensive play before.
He hits one well to center. Everett says thank you very much to the wind. And the side retired. Tell you what, he smoked a ball yesterday that probably would have gone out. And this ball might have made it over the wall if not for the prohibitive wind. Third inning at Shea Stadium. Mets with 4 in the first. The Astros answered back with 1 in the second. Derek Bell, Jeff Bagwell, and Carl Everett will hit for Houston. And Mets fans, don't miss the grand opening of the new flagship Mets clubhouse shop located at 143 East 54th Street off of Lexington Avenue. The festivities include autograph sessions with Tommy Agee, Rusty Staub, Mookie Wilson, and Turk Wendell. Plus, Mr. Met will be on hand as well, too. For more information, call 212-888-7508. Fouled off by Derek Bell, 0-1. By the way, that clubhouse shop opening will be tomorrow. 143 East 54th Street off of Lexington Avenue. In the air to center. Here comes McRae, still coming. Got to play it on a hop. In fact, Cedeno cuts in front of him to pick it up. And Derek Bell has the third Astro hit. They've had the leadoff man on now in all 3 innings against Rick Reed.
Well, Derek Bell didn't hit that ball real hard. It dropped in. But last year in that exciting series in Houston, read his lips. Oh, my God. He was into this one. And he styled around the bases. Once again, we've been focusing back on that series in Houston. Nobody involved in that series will forget it.
And
including Derek Bell.
And some lingering bad blood, too, as Jeff Bagwell bats now with Bell on first and takes a strike because the Mets didn't appreciate the way Bell stared and styled, and the Astros didn't appreciate Turk Wendell's animation. And some of that even spilled over into spring training this year.
Yeah, they had an altercation in Florida.
It was in Kissimmee. Breaking ball, taken low by Bagwell, 1-1.
Well, Jeff Bagwell is the guy in this club. He's the main man. He's been that way for a number of years. Grew up a Boston Red Sox fan, signed with the Red Sox. hit no more than 3 home runs in his minor league career in one season with the Red Sox. And he ended up getting traded to the Houston Astros. But he told me he still follows the Red Sox. Played for the University of Hartford.
Well, so do you. I hear you calling Dad at home after games saying, hey, Dad, how'd the Red Sox do?
No, I never. I was a Giant fan growing up. How about this stance right here?
In the air to center. At least that's where it starts out. Cedeno in now, and he makes the catch. So it started out dead center, and eventually Brian McRae had a yield to the right fielder Cedeno. One away.
Talking about Jeff Bagwell, played for the University of Hartford. As you look at Roger Cedeno, look at that. Now watch this front foot. How about the stance? You could take a stool and put it underneath him, he'd be sitting on it. Now the front foot, watch the front foot. When he's hitting the ball well, it comes back, and then those hips come around. You know how strong you got to be to hit like that? Boy, an outstanding hitter. And I asked him about that front foot coming back. He said, I don't know how it started. I can't explain it. Hitting instructors have looked at it. Everybody's confused. But the key is he gets it down. Once he gets it down, even though it's coming backwards, now he takes that back foot and he turns those hips, and that's where he generates the speed.
1-0 to Carl Everett. And the fastball rides high.
You know, Howie, speaking of speed with bats, for about 10 years, these guys who are in charge of biokinetics and hitting, they have kept a log of bat speed. For about 10 years, not Jeff Bagwell, but Darryl Strawberry was timed with the quickest bat at 79 miles per hour.
How long ago was that?
This was from the mid-'80s.
On the inside corner to Everett, 2-1.
The guy they timed last year with that's even quicker is McGuire. He was at 81. But now they think that if they went around checking out Sosa and the guys that have used the weights, their bat speed would be even quicker. But it's really an interesting thing to watch, the marriage of biokinetics with the art of hitting a baseball.
2-2 to Everett. I'd be interested, Fran, in tracking that consistently for one player over the course of his career, and then maybe comparing it with other players over the course of their careers to see if there's a consistency around the time when you have to start making adjustments, because maybe you lose just a shade.
That's a great point, because the guys that last a long time in the major leagues, they make adjustments. You don't last in the big leagues without adjustments.
Fouled away, 2-2 to Everett.
It's either, for a hitter, it's maybe going to a lighter bat, taking a shorter stride, taking a longer stride, but there are adjustments to be made. This guy here is going to be around a long time. I don't know if that back of his can continue to take that pounding where the foot comes back, but think about this guy as an all-around player. You're seeing two of the best first basemen in all of baseball as far as all-around is concerned in this game tonight.
Whether it's bat speed or other elements, perhaps, of a player's physique or just Mother Nature, it's interesting how bat speed will occasionally stay consistent for long stretches of time. Tony Gwynn's a guy you think of right away, and he's 38, 39.
He uses a very light bat and always has.
But think about people just who played here in the last few years. Carlos Baerga, Howard Johnson. They almost seem to lose it at once.
Yeah, Howard Johnson was surprised because Howard
hit hard. Nice snag by Alfonso. Everett retired. Bell back to first, 2 men away.
Well, Everett hit that ball hard, and Alfonso is getting very comfortable playing second base. Made a smooth transition from third to second. It's one of the reasons why the Mets are second in the league defensively to the Milwaukee Brewers. For the years out, the Mets will be #1 defensively. They have an outstanding defensive infield, and Alfonso's very good at second base, although he only played it a little bit. He was a shortstop as a kid. When he joined the Mets, he became a second baseman for just a little while. Then they moved him to short again, and then on to third.
Ken Caminiti walked and scored in the first inning. 0-1 to Ken. Boy, he really blossomed in San Diego. I mean, he had some pretty good years as a Houston Astro. But when he went to San Diego, just consider that before going to the Padres, he had never driven in more than 80 runs. He had never hit more than 18 home runs. He hit at least 26 all 4 years in San Diego, topping out at 40. 1996, when he was the MVP, he hit 40 homers, drove in 130 runs.
That's when he was a leader.
326.
He was a leader with those stats. When he was in Houston, when he first came up, Hal Lanier was the manager, and he sent him to the minor leagues in spring training because he missed a bus going to an exhibition game. But boy, has he turned his career around since missing that bus.
Well, they think he took some things for granted.
That's right. The buses would wait for him right now. When you can hit, they hold the bus. When you can't hit, they say he'll get there by cab.
Rick Reed knows all about the buses all those years in the minor leagues. Savoring opportunities like facing some of the league's elite. Ken Caminetti ahead of him here, 1-2 with 2 out and a runner on first. Got him.
What ball movement. Wow. That's the Rick Reed pitch we've become accustomed to watching.
Nothing Ken Caminetti can do except put down the bat, go get his mitt. Middle of the third, 4-1 New York. Robin Ventura leads off the last of the third for New York. It's 4-1 Mets. He goes first ball hitting, lines one down the line towards the corner, but foul.
You know, Howie, for years I watched George Brett hit in the American League, and he broke in when Kansas City when I was there. Now, watch the similarities between George Brett and Robin Ventura. Now, George, in his stance, he's got a lot more weight on his back foot. Now, if you watch George when he goes forward, they have a similar approach. Now, George worked with Charlie Lau, and you see that weight shift? And a disciple of Charlie Lau was Walt Riniak, a batting instructor that Robin Ventura broke in under in Chicago. Now watch Robin Ventura, similar swing. Robin said that he's been compared a lot to George as far. Look at that. That's uncanny. It's almost like he was imitating George Brett, but you know, George get hit with a lot of pitches like that too. That ball just got away from Holt.
Second batter hit by Holt. So the second time Bobby Valentine's had to come out and examine a player.
Well, and the thing is, you got to be careful. You see the way Bobby Valentine steered out there. I don't blame him because you don't want to get your players hurt. So what happens, though, even I think it wasn't intentional. And even if it's not intentional, sometimes you have to do the same thing to the opposition. But if you're going to hit somebody with a pitch, in professional ball, this is what you're going to do. You're going to throw it inside. Now, we talked earlier about some bad blood. If this is intentional, it's going to heighten the bad blood. Now, you see Holt's reaction? It's not intentional. It's not intentional. The ball just got away. They try to pitch him in, and they hit Ventura. But Bobby Valentine was staring at Holt as he was walking out. You see Ventura getting hit right in the back. And Holt hitting Ventura with a pitch. We talked about the bad blood in the series last year, and we flash back to spring training. And you see Bell getting hit. And retaliation at Wendell. Inside to Matt Franco. Could it carry over to Shea Stadium? Never know. But Holt's reaction to me was he wasn't throwing at Ventura. If you're throwing at somebody, you hit him, and there's no reaction. You watch him walk to first base.
Well, you certainly wouldn't expect him to have been throwing at Mike Kincaid with the bases loaded either in the first inning.
No.
So you got to give him the benefit of the doubt on both counts. And a bouncer to the left side. Nice scoop by Caminetti. They've got one back to first and a double play. Beautifully executed double play by the Houston Astros, started by Ken Caminetti.
We talked about Caminetti struggling early in '99 with errors, but he's won Gold Gloves in the past. Flips this ball to Biggio at second base, the Biggio over to first to Bagwell, and they just do get Mike Kincaid. Another angle. Boy, how important is that glove, that webbing of the glove where you catch that ball and then the flip to second and back over to first. So Ken Caminetti starting a double play.
And Brian McRae drove in two with a single in the first inning. Brian's average now at 208. And he drives this one the other way. Back goes Hidalgo to the warning track to put it away. So McRae gave it a good ride to the opposite field. But the Mets are done in the third and lead 4-1. To do with Mets pitching. Most innings pitched without allowing a walk. Well, Rick Reed can put up a pretty long string. And then, of course, the pitching staffs in the 1960s. One specifically, which was honored here yesterday, would come to mind, that the 1969 World Championship team. 30th anniversary celebrated here yesterday. On a very 1969-ish kind of day when you think about how the game evolved. Ball one to Richard Hidalgo, but Boy, the wind played havoc with a pop-up at just the right time yesterday, just as the elements cooperated so consistently 30 years ago. Hidalgo flied out to center his first time up. Ball 2. Remember now, Reed has allowed the leadoff man to get on base each of the first 3 innings, and he's behind Hidalgo here 2-0. Ball right there, 2-1.
Now, Rick Reed missed some time because of a problem with his right leg, so you would wonder how much emphasis on his right leg, but he's not a power pitcher, so there wouldn't be that much emphasis on pushing off that rubber. So Rick Reed, I'm sure, is completely healthy.
A pop-up to the right side, drifting over towards foul territory, and Olerud now well into foul ground, puts it away.
You know, Howie, you mentioned the '69 team being celebrated here yesterday, 30th reunion, the 30th anniversary. Well, watching Rick Reed when he bent that right leg, you would think of a guy like, not necessarily similar to Tom Seaver, but Tom had that leg that bent way down and pushed off the rubber. And Tom said the reason he had that was when he was a youngster, he was smaller than everybody else. So he had to drop way down and really push off the rubber. And then as he got older, he got bigger and stronger, and it helped him.
Low to Paul Bacco, 1-0.
Jerry Kuzman also had that same type of delivery. Rick Reed, of course, doesn't go down that low with that back leg. And I'm sure Rick is concerned about how much emphasis he places on that leg right now. He doesn't want to miss any more time.
2-0 now to Bacco.
In the last pitch of the last inning, he struck out Kim Caminetti. As you look at the in-game box score, the Astros, Biggio with the base on ball. You see Bell 1 for 2 and Bagwell 0 for 2. The last pitch of Caminetti in the inning was a Rick Reed pitch.
Up to the left side, and that'll reach the seats. Mets with 4 runs on 5 hits. The Astros a run on 3 hits. Couple of hot teams getting together tonight. Astros with 4 wins in a row. The Mets have won 5 straight. Rick Reed's start tonight enables Al Leiter to take an extra night off. He'll go tomorrow. Larry Durker, the Astro manager, will send left-hander Mike Hampton to the mound against him. 2-1 to Bacco. And a roller right to Alfonso. And there are 2 men away. So 2 out, nobody on. Tim Bogar coming up. And Bogey was right in the middle of all the emotion last year during that memorable series in Houston. Game 1 of the doubleheader. Matt Molesky, the hitter. That's Jay Payton, Fran.
And Payton with the throw to the plate, and bad arm and all, Payton, a pressure throw, nailing Bogart home plate. And keep in mind, when you see this going on from that series last year, the Houston Astros had already clinched their division. The Mets were fighting for the wild card. But what a series. You see Bogart, who crashed in to Mike Piazza on that play.
That play took place in the bottom of the 9th inning. Bogar was carrying the potential potential winning run to the plate, but Payton's throw enabled that game to get into extra inning. Houston eventually won the game on the Derek Bell home run.
The oh my God home run.
Reed ahead 0-2. And the side retired right down the middle, but there's that ball movement again, similar to the pitch that got Caminetti to win the 3rd inning. For Reed, his first 1-2-3 inning of the night, 4-1 New York.
Show up at Shea for Batting Helmet Day, sponsored by AC Delco and Tanza Automotive.
Be here on Saturday, May 22nd, as the Mets take on their division rivals, the Philadelphia Phillies. All kids will take home a Mets batting helmet courtesy of AC Delco and Tanza Automotive. For tickets, call 718-507-TIXX.
New year, new team, new magic. Are you ready?
All right, let's get the answer now to our Aflac trivia question. The Met record for most innings pitched without allowing a walk.
How about the guy in Boston?
Well, Brett Saberhagen, now pitching for the Boston Red Sox, did it for the Mets 5 years ago.
He had great control. Ray Ordonez had control last year. We talked about that series in Houston. Ray Ordonez with a big blow, a big home run in that series.
His annual home run.
His annual home run. And take a look at it again. Shane Reynolds, who just won his 5th game yesterday, is now 5-1. Throws that pitch, and Ordonez hits that ball over the left field wall, right over the Armatron sign in Houston, and a huge blow for Ray Ordonez and the Mets. What a series.
So Shane Reynolds joined the club occupied by Kelvin Escobar of the Toronto Blue Jays and Rich Hunter, formerly of the Phillies. Ordonez may have himself a base hit here, and he does.
Well, it wasn't a home run. It was a bad hop.
He'll take it.
Oh, absolutely. Base hit for Ordonez. Watch Biggio coming in. Ball takes a tricky hop when it hits the grass. So the Bees better get used to these hops. No more AstroTurf in Houston when they put up the new stadium. You see Ordonez busting it out of that batter's box. The big hop. Here comes Biggio. Watch that ball take a tricky hop. Boom, stays down and moves to his right.
Yeah.
So Ray Ordonez a base hit.
How about that, huh? Real baseball next year in Houston.
That's right.
None of that phony turf stuff. Biggio signals as to who's covering is Reed with a bunt that's fielded in foul territory by Baco.
You know, looking back at that home run that Ordonez hit down the left field line in Houston, it's really the only place he would have hit it out in that ballpark, and he pulled it directly down the line.
As his other 2 home runs have been, if I remember right.
Down the line.
Same thing against Escobar of Toronto 2 years ago and Rich Hunter of the Phillies 3 years ago.
So Ray Ordonez on first base with a base hit. And the New York Life in-game box score. Cedeno leading off with a 1-for-2. Alfonso 1-for-2 in this game.
Reed pulls it back. Did he offer at it? Yes, he did. And it's 0-2. Mets with 6 hits now off of Holt. Their 4 runs coming in the first inning. About that new ballpark in Houston next year, it will have a retractable dome, but we're sweating out how the grass will survive because you never know exactly what the angle of the sun will be. That bunt was fouled off by Reed and held by Holt. So Reed, a strikeout victim, 1 away.
You know, talking about new stadiums, the Giants were in town. They're going to have a new stadium. They're talking about a new stadium in San Francisco, and they're trying to base it. And they say it will remind a lot of people a neighborhood stadium similar to Wrigley Field. They're going to have a lot of mass transit there. They're going to only own 7,000 parking spaces. Rick Reed's not concerned with that right now. But Houston, we talked about Houston with a new ballpark coming up.
Well, that 8th wonder of the world had a shelf life of about 30-some years. Guess wonders don't last as long as they used to, huh? 1-0 to Roger Cedeno. No relation to a guy who used to play at the Astrodome named Cedeno, an outstanding talent.
Yeah,
Cesar Cedeno.
He was a great player.
Roger grew up in Venezuela. You would wonder if he'd had a Venezuelan baseball idol, but he told Matty Laughlin his baseball hero growing up, Ricky Henderson, now a teammate.
Well, you could see him during the course of this year talking a lot to Ricky Henderson and in spring training. I'll tell you, you have a player like Ricky Henderson, a Piazza, have somebody in a broadcast booth like a Ralph Kiner, you got to go and you got to pick their brain. Pitchers worked with Tom Seaver this spring.
2-0 to Cedeno, and the fastball way upstairs. That'll prompt a conversation.
Pretty good pitcher right there. In fact, he was a very good Major League pitcher. Larry Durker sitting next to him. Vern Rule, who had a successful career as a Major League pitcher.
Larry Durker made his playing debut in the major leagues on his 18th birthday.
Yeah, Larry Durker was broadcast for 17 years. Also wrote a column for the local newspaper in Houston. And they said he couldn't do it because he didn't have any experience. And last year, he was manager of the year.
3-1 to Holt.
You know what? You can be a good manager if you have good players. And Larry had some good players.
He took immediate exception, though, to the novelty idea about coming down from the broadcast booth. Ball 4 to Cedeno. That's in contrast to Jerry Coleman, who was kidded quite a bit about it when he left the Padres broadcast booth. This copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by the New York Mets solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and Fox Sports Net New York is prohibited. Remember Jerry Coleman managed the Padres for 1 year, and everybody thought it was a big joke, except Jerry, but he played along with that angle a little bit better than Larry Durker did.
Well, Ray Kroc was the owner of the Padres. He brought Jerry Coleman down to manage. It was also the decision of the current Astros owner, Creighton McLean, to bring Larry Durker down into the dugout.
0-1 now to Alfonso, taking a good long look at Cookie Rojas to see if Bobby Valentine has anything up his sleeve here, with Ordonez at second and Cedeno at first. 4-1 New York. We're in the fourth. In the dirt, nice stop by Baco.
You know, once again, Bobby has some alternatives right now with Alfonso at the plate. He has some options. Cookie Rojas flashing those signs. You could put those runners in motion and have Alfonso swing the bat with one out. He can handle the bat as well as anybody. The other dilemma, well, I don't know if it's a dilemma, you leave him on second base and have Alfonso drive him in. We saw him bunt earlier.
Roger Cedeno not wearing loafers tonight. He's got the conventional laces on, but any ball player wears loafers. There's a double play ball, and Caminetti throws out Cedeno. The inning's over. I mean, that should be the next step. They wear fake stirrups.
I love it. Loafers on the field with cleats.
Fifth inning at Shea Stadium, 4-1 New York. And for the play-by-play, Fran Healy.
All right, Howie. Chris Holt leads it off. Rick Reed's first pitch is down low, ball one. So 1-0 on the Astro pitcher, who's 1 for 1 in his game. RBI single in the second inning, accounting for the only Astro run on a cool evening here at Shea Stadium. Fastball for a strike. 1-1 on Holt. After Holt, we'll go to the top of the Astro order. It'll be Craig Biggio and then Derek Bell. 4-1, the Mets on top of the Astros, first of a 3-game series. Final series of the homestand. And Holt hits the ball slowly to second base. Alfonso over to Olerud, 1 down. Edgardo Alfonso, as we mentioned earlier, getting more comfortable at second base, just took off the glasses and put them on top of the hat.
Yeah, we're not talking shades, are we there?
No.
I mean, it's nighttime, and he was wearing those clear goggles, too.
Well, once again, we get back to styling. Bill Blast style. You were talking about the loafers, now you get the designer glasses.
Well, you know, it's not a bad idea for Fonzie there because it's so windy here.
Yeah.
He might have been concerned that there was wind or sand going to kick up, infield dirt.
The other thing is with the wind blowing, the glasses protect the eyes from watering. Craig Biggio takes the breaking ball off the plate. 1-0.
You get all emotional and teary-eyed over wind? Is that
I'll tell you, you ever hit at Candlestick Park?
I never hit here. I never hit in the driveway playing stickball. Why are you starting me at the top?
Did you ever walk down the street with the wind blowing?
Yes.
Okay.
Now you're on my page.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Biggio. He pulls it to third. Easy play for Ventura. 2 down. So Rick Reed is starting to get that rhythm we talked about earlier in the game.
8 in a row now, retired by Reed. Last batter who reached against him was Derek Bell, leading off the third.
Gold Glove winner Robin Ventura at third base tonight for the Mets. Well, if you're a pitcher for this ball club, you have to love this defensive infield. Ventura, Ordonez, Alfonso, and Olerud. Well, Reed likes it. He's got 2 out here in the 5th inning. The batter now will be Derek Bell. Bell 1 for 2. He's got a single in his game. Bell started his career with the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays signed a bunch of real good outfielders about 10 years ago and then traded a lot of them away. 1-0 now on Bell. Bell ended up in San Diego and then over to the Houston Astros, where he hit an oh my God home run. We showed it to you earlier. He pops the ball out of play. So 1 ball and 1 strike on Derek Bell.
That was a pitch Derek Bell might have been able to handle. Well, Derek a little frustrated after that last swing. This is Biggio now, and you talked about the frustration of hitting the ball to the infield. He threw that bat in disgust just as he got out of the batter's box because it was a slowly hit ball, but he knew it was going to Ventura, which is about as good as an out.
And the 1-1 pitch, and Bell misses another pitch that was hittable for him. 1-2 now on Bell, and Howie, you mentioned earlier, has a propensity for striking out.
126 times last year. Several times in his career, he's been well over the 100 mark. Reed ahead here, 1-2. Struck him out in the first inning.
See if he tries to bounce that hook. They're going outside with a 1-2 pitch. Fastball, strike 3. Reed throws a money pitch. Bell had 2 pitches to hit that he fouled off, and then Reed beat him. And that'll do it for the Astros here in the 5th. They fail to score. We go to the bottom of the inning. The Mets are on top 4-1.
A programming note for you. Tomorrow, the Mets and the Astros will be on Metro Guide as New York and Houston hook up for Game 2 of this 3-game series. So Geico Mets on deck will be at 6:30, full 30-minute edition. And then the Mets and the Astros, but make note now, it's on Metro Guide. Hope you can join us for Game 2 of this 3-game set.
And John Olerud drives the ball to deep center field. Everett in pursuit, unable to make the grab. And Olerud will cruise into second base with a stand-up double. John Olerud's first hit of the game, and he smoked it to center field.
Boy, this ball is tagged by John Olerud. Chris Holt leaving one up about knee-high out over the plate. And Everett unable to come up with it. Olerud stopping at second base. Mike Piazza up next. But he just drove it through the wind. I mean, that ball lands about 408 feet before bouncing the other 2 feet to the wall in dead center field. Right on it. That's vintage John Olerud, huh?
Really is. Beautiful swing. Now Piazza's up. He takes up high, ball 1. So Olerud on second base. Piazza the batter. Piazza 1 for 2 in his game. He singled and scored a run. He's also driven in 1. 4-1. The Mets on top of the Astros. First game of a 3-game series here at Shea. And a 1-0 pitch. Piazza fouls it back. 1-1. Keep in mind, Howie Rose mentioned the Metro Channel tomorrow. Can't make it out to the ballpark. Catch us on Metro Channel. And if you can, see some good baseball here at Shea State. You see Mike Piazza hit. See John Olerud hit.
Just remember, when a pitcher has an Astros jersey, Mike Piazza usually succeeds.
Hammers the Astros throughout his career. One ball and 1 strike on Mike Piazza. All Mike talked about in last year's series, after the series, was his defense. Right there, he takes outside, 2-1.
And this might have been as good a defensive play as you'll see all season. Jeff Tam pitching. The ball goes to the backstop. Runner coming down the line. He throws a strike. And Craig Biggio is nailed at the plate.
And I just talked to Mike about it before the ball game, asked him what stood out in his mind, and that's what stood out that play. It was a good play. Right back to Holt. He checks Olerud at second base, and they easily get Piazza at first. 1 down.
Think about that play. Remember Mike Piazza, a product of the Dodgers system. Bobby Valentine mentioned that that's something that the Dodgers used to practice in spring training and that he's adopted with the Mets. Now right here, Piazza makes real good contact, but a sharp one hopper. No chance for Olerud to have even thought about third. He wasn't caught too far off the bag, so just a simple 1-3 putout.
Now Chris Holt will take on Robin Ventura. Breaking ball down low. 1-0 on the Met third baseman, who's 1 for 1 in his game. He has scored a run. He was hit by a pitch. And the 1-0 pitch to Ventura. Outside, 2-0.
I wonder, well, how does a team practice a play like that? But he said exactly the way Piazza did it. And he does that with the Mets now in the spring, basically just for 1 day. Spend a little time getting the catcher scrambling back and trying to coordinate the throw to get it right on the plate.
Up high, 3 balls and no strikes. So Robin Ventura, 31 years old. He has a number of years left to play. Another good signing by the Mets. Similar to John Olerud's personality. Right there, they're walking Robin Ventura.
So runners at first and second. Well, you were talking before about Charlie Lau and Robin Ventura and George Brett and how Lau's theory of hitting was so well absorbed by Brett. Ventura almost looks like a clone. Now, what about the swings here are attributed to Charlie Lau's philosophy?
Well, you see where George Brett has that bat on his shoulder because of Charlie Lau. Look at him release that bat with the hand. Now, that's later on in George's career. You see Robin Ventura now, a complete weight shift, hitting off that front leg. That's how Charlie Lau would encourage the hitters to hit. Charlie Lau.
Well, what specifically? The front leg?
Yeah, he wanted that weight shift to go. The weight go from the front or the back leg to the front leg. Now Robin says he was influenced by Walt Riniak, who was really a disciple of Charlie Lau. They talked all the time about hitting. Here's the 0-1 pitch down low, 1-1. And they were both. You mentioned Charlie Lau controversial. He was controversial. So was Walt Riniak. And probably because it was new. A lot of things in baseball are not embraced when they're new. Plus, you know, Charlie's credentials, you know, you talk hitting. It's a lot easier talk hitting than to do it. Mike Kincaid fouls it off. I was with Kansas City when Charlie was there. And Charlie was a hard worker. He really worked hard with George Brett. He took George Brett as a baby. And he started him off hitting the ball left field. Now, the shot we saw of George Brett, I would say would be later on in the maybe late 70s, early 80s. Because he did change a lot. He became a more powerful hitter. Mike Kincaid with a 1-2 count, fouls it off. I asked Robin Ventura before the ball game, we were talking about the similarities. He said a lot of people now are starting to talk about that. Jack McKeon told me while in college, Robin Ventura reminded him of George Brett. And I mentioned home runs, and Robin said, you know what, I'm not a home run hitter. I said, you've hit over 20 home runs. He said, yeah, but I don't consider myself a home run hitter. And Charlie Lau was the type of guy who infuriated old-time players outside, 2-2.
Well, even to this day, 20-some years, 30 years almost after his teachings, you know, became applied by certain hitters, those who did not agree with it are still pretty outspoken about not agreeing with it and not liking it.
I know Harmon Killebrew played in Kansas City when I was there. The Baby Bull, Orlando Cepeda, Veda Penson. And the old-timers didn't agree with a lot of his theories. One thing Charlie Lau did is he worked extremely hard. And I'll tell you, today I saw a video. Tom Robson gave me a video about biokinetics and the art of hitting, and it was a fascinating video. Here's a 2-2 pitch. Kincaid puts it in play. Caminetti to first. In time to get Kincaid, but the runners move up. Olerud to third. Ventura to second.
It looked as though Caminetti had just a little trouble getting the ball out of his glove again, which would be the second time that's happened tonight. Happened earlier in the game in the first inning, and here, yeah, he had to go in there again. So that's twice tonight he had to double clutch, and it looks like Kincaid is beaten by a half a step. All right, now it's in the glove. 1, 2, and it's on that second clutch that he's able to get the ball to first base, but Kincaid almost beat it.
So Ken Caminetti struggling defensively. That's the second time tonight we've seen him double clutch.
Nice shot by Keith DeSantis, our cameraman, to close in on that.
Yeah, that was a great shot of the ball going in the glove. Trevor Miller now throwing in the bullpen for the Astros. The Astros have struggled in the bullpen unless it's a close game and they can bring in Billy Wagner. In fact, one of the reasons Chris Holt is a starter is because they didn't want to mess with their bullpen. Take somebody out of the pen. Now, Brian McRae takes outside ball 1. In fact, Scott Ellerton, who's in their bullpen, would have been a starter. But they decided to keep him in the bullpen and pitch Chris Holt. So it's 1-0 now on Brian McRae with runners on second and third. Up high, 2-0.
Boy, before the first pitch, John Olerud really dashed down the line from third about 15 feet, trying to distract Holt, perhaps draw a walk. Before the second pitch, he didn't, but there, he does it again. So that's 2 out of 3 now that he's tried to nail Holt.
Up high, 3-0 on Brian McRae. Now, on deck is Ray Ordonez. They cannot allow Brian McRae to swing the bat. Brian McRae, in this ball game, has already singled and drove in 2 runs. Also flied to left field. Might as well just tell him to take his base. Here's a 3-0 pitch. Up high, ball 4. So the bases are loaded with Mets. And Ray Ordonez is the batter. Vern Rule coming out of the dugout. My question would be, why not just walk Brian McRae? Why even give him an opportunity to hit a bad ball and hit it into the outfield? But Chris Holt walked him, pitched around him.
Tom Seaver had that same philosophy. He said, listen, if we're thinking there's suitable cause to put a guy on first base, just do it and get it over with rather than risk the margin for error.
Well, I remember being on the mound when managers would come out and they would tell a pitcher, okay, let's pitch around this guy. And there would be a discussion on the mound. Wait a minute, you know, you can make a mistake pitching around somebody. If you walk them intentionally, there's no mistake unless the pitcher throws it by the catcher. But the Astros opted to pitch around Brian McRae. The bases are loaded with Mets, and the batter will be Ray Ordonez. It's 4-1 with 2 outs. Mets have the lead. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. A hit here breaks the game open. Ordonez takes a strike. 0-1 on the Mets shortstop. Keep in mind, ball game tomorrow night. Final game of the series, Wednesday night. Seats still available here at Shea Stadium. Right back up the middle. Holt gloves it. Goes to first. Pitches out of a jam. The Mets strand 3 here in the bottom of the 5th inning. They fail to score, and after 5, it's 4-1 New York.
Here comes the Pepsi.
In the 6th inning, fans may have noticed that since coming off the disabled list, Mike Piazza has added a piece of equipment. It's something called a knee saver, and it's relatively new. It's a piece of foam rubber that lies against the calf of both legs, and it is, as its name would imply, designed to save the knee from bending too far. Now, Piazza, of course, wants to be careful with the knee that he injured in Montreal, and when he was on the disabled list, he said he would probably wear it for a while. But I talked to him recently, he said, you know what? Late in the games, he notices his legs are much stronger. Fran Healy, you would know about it. He's thinking about keeping it permanently. Could extend his career a few years.
I think it's a great idea, Matt. If you can help save the wear and tear on your legs and stay strong, do it. But it takes a while for things to catch on in baseball, but it looks like the catchers in the major leagues are adjusting to it, and it is saving on wear and tear. In fact, we might wear them up here in the booth. Jeff Bagwell doesn't need him, although he's sitting on that stool again. Down low with the breaking ball from Rick Reed. Bagwell has flied out both times up.
So on the British Airways National League leaderboard, Jeff Bagwell in contention for what Tony Gwynn has right now, the lead in the batting average department. But then again, Tony Gwynn has, what, 8 batting titles?
Yeah, once you get down to the nitty-gritty and Tony Gwynn is in the hunt, he's got a good shot at winning that baby because he's been through all the pressure. Although Bagwell's had a real solid career. 1-1 on the Astro first baseman. He's been just a little bit behind on Reed tonight. He takes a ball, so it's 2-1, says first base umpire Jerry Davis.
And Bagwell holding his swing, although from that angle it looked like the bat just might have come across the plane of the plate, but according to first base ump Jerry Davis, it didn't.
Reed is getting it together now. He misses up high, 3-1, but up until this batter, he's been vintage Reed. Struggled a little bit early on, gave up a run in the 2nd inning, but lately he's been throwing those refined strikes. Great location. And Bagwell hits his ball hard. Kincaid in pursuit and gloves it. So Bagwell, who hit 2 high fly balls, hits a rope that Kincaid tracks down.
Now Bagwell was on a pitch that Reed has used to strike some hitters out. Looks like that 2-seam fastball that comes back in on a right-hand hitter. Now that got a pretty good chunk of the plate, and Bagwell got a pretty good piece of it as well. But Reed has been able to use that pitch specifically to strike out the last hitters in each of the last 3 innings, and he's been able to catch them looking too. Great movement on the fastball. That was a breaking ball fouled off by Carl Everett for strike 1. But here in the 3rd inning, Ken Caminetti. Watch where it starts and ends. Right over the middle of the plate, running away from the left-hander. Now it comes in on the right-hand batter. That's Tim Bogar, the last out in the 4th inning. Same pitch to Derek Bell. And 3 Astros have been caught looking to end innings by the same pitch.
And he started Everett out with a curveball. He got a strike, and then he just missed with the curveball right there, 1-1. Now, as you mentioned, he's got that 2-seamer going where he's getting good ball movement now. So he's over his nerves, talking about Rick Reed. Said he was nervous coming into tonight's action. He's been out for a while, nursing that bad right leg. Looks like Rick Reed is back. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Nice change right there. He had Carl Everett way out in front, 1-2.
If you just watch the game casually, You don't always take ball movement into account. And that ball runs away from Everett.
So important. I think there's more ball movement today by the modern-day pitcher than pitchers years ago. Look at that ball movement right there. Strike 3. 2 outs.
Same pitch. And the thing of it is, you wonder to yourself, well, boy, don't they know what's coming? But they don't know when the break is coming. It looks like it's off the plate inside, and that's where you saw the knees buckle. Nothing Everett can do.
And we just showed you a package of pitches just like that. So 2 men out here in the top of the 6th inning. Reed, right now, is on cruise control. And Caminetti hits the ball off the end of the bat. Kincaid coming in, unable to make the catch. Caminetti with the big turn and a slide to stop as Brian McRae got over there and backed up the play. Caminetti thought double, but then he slid to stop his momentum towards second base, and he retreated to first.
Ball looked like it knuckled a little bit. Remember the wind, plus the fact here that Caminetti basically gets it off the end of the bat. And by the time Kincaid recognizes it, he has to bust it and just falls an inch short of coming up with a pretty good catch. So also, Brian McRae had a pretty good read on what was happening, and the fact that he was able to get over and back up Kincaid held Caminetti to a single. And that breaks a streak, too, of 11 in a row retired by Reed.
But a good pitch, as you mentioned how he hit it off the end of the bat. But Caminetti's on first. Richard Hidalgo is the batter. He just took a strike from Rick Reed. Hidalgo in his game flied to center and popped to first.
You know, if you watch a game from the upper deck or even the mezzanine, you can't really determine the ball movement the way you can with the shot we have from the center field camera. But there's probably some fans here tonight wondering, boy, why are the Astros taking all these pitches that look right down the middle?
And again, a ball's hit off towards the end of the bat. That ball's hit a long way, and it's a home run for Richard Hidalgo. Rick Reed's surprise. Hidalgo hitting the ball over the center field wall, and it's now 4-3 New York.
Now Bobby Valentine's thinking to himself, I'm sure, well, how do you like that? One of them got up into those jet streams we were talking about before. The wind has played havoc for good stretches of this game, and we were wondering if anybody was going to be able to juice one out. But Rick Reed threw one out over the plate that Richard Hidalgo jumped on for his 6th home run of the year. Now it's a 1-run game.
Brian McRae, his reaction, he thought it was going to be gone. He didn't think that baby was coming back in. Well, Paul Bacco, the catcher, is the batter. He takes strike 1 from Rick Reed.
This pitch doesn't run in on him. It stays out over the plate, and Hidalgo launches it well over 400 feet.
He hit that ball up towards the end of the bat, and it still got out of here. 0-1 on Bacco. He takes a ball. So 1 ball and 1 strike on the Astro catcher. Bacco did his catching in Detroit last year. But Hidalgo's a guy who has to deliver for the Astros this year because Moises Alou had big shoes to fill.
Well, again, talk about ball movement. This ball sits right out over the plate. And Hidalgo puts a big cut on it. He's not taking anything for granted here, probably given the wind conditions. But again, the way they swirl, it's so unpredictable. McRae was set for a carom that never came.
So it's 1 ball and 2 strikes on Paul Bacco. Pulls it to the right side. Easy play for Alfonso. And that'll do it for the Astros here in the bottom of the 6th. But they pick up 2 runs on a home run off the bat of that guy, Richard Hidalgo. He hits it off the end of the bat, and he's strong enough to hit it out. The Astros pick up 2, and it's now 4-3 New York.
Big start against Chris Holt, scoring 4 runs in the 1st inning, half of them driven in by Brian McRae. Rick Reed really settled down. Not that he was ever in big trouble. He did leave 2 men on in the 2nd after allowing a run, but he'd retired 11 in a row until a base hit by Caminetti and then that home run by Richard Hidalgo.
Pinch hitter Bobby Bonilla takes a curveball for a strike. 0-1 on Bobby Bo.
And Rick Reed probably would love to have that pitch back that Richard Hidalgo deposited about 400 feet over the left center field fence.
0-2 on Bonilla. Bonilla was scheduled to start, but was a last-minute scratch as Bobby Valentine opted to put, Mike Kincaid first and then Roger Cedeno in right field. Here's the 0-2 pitch inside on Bobby Bo. So it's 1-2.
It's amazing how some things work out according to form. Even before the Mets started to get to Holt in the first inning, we talked about his first inning problems and how he settles down later.
Outside, 2-2.
Same pattern so far tonight. Mets 4 runs, 4 hits in the first inning. They've had none or no runs on 3 hits since.
Phenia hits the ball to short. Bogart to Bagwell, 1 down.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, official beer of Major League Baseball. This Bud's for you. One and 0 to Roger Cedeno. Apparently having some trouble with Fran Healy's microphone. Cedeno in the game. Single, stole a base and scored in the first inning. Biggio made a nice play on him on a ground ball in the second inning, and then he drew a walk in the fourth. You in one piece? No, we are still working on Fran Healy's microphone. 1-1 to Cedeno. And he lines one off the glove of Caminiti into short left field. He's thinking double all the way, and he's going to try. The throw coming in. Off the glove. And holding on at second base is Cedeno. It went off the glove of Biggio.
It was tough right there because it was a short hop throw. It was a good, strong throw. While Hidalgo was on the move, he threw like an infielder charging a ball, and here's Cedeno picking up that double. As Howie mentioned, he had double on his mind. Watch Hidalgo charging and throwing off balance and handcuffs Biggio. Good throw, gets Cedeno at second base. But he had to rush it. And Cedeno's on second base with 1 man out here in the 6th inning. The batter, Edgardo Alfonso. Alfonso takes outside, ball 1. Alfonso 1 for 3 in this game. Grounded out twice, and he singled to right field. A .294 average with 3 home runs, and he takes down low, 2-0. He also has 9 RBIs. Roger Cedeno leading off second base. He has 2 hits in this game. Alfonso takes up high. 3 balls and no strikes. On deck, John Olerud. Olerud hammered a ball to center field his last time up, so he has a double in this game. See if Bobby V has Alfonso taking. Here's the 3-0 pitch. He took all the way, 3-1. You just tuned in to Fox Sports Net New York. It's 4-3 Mets. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning. Crowd has been in this game all night. It's pretty cool out here. There goes Cedeno, and he steals third base. So you mentioned Roger Cedeno's idol is Ricky Henderson, so Ricky is watching Cedeno run.
Well, ordinarily, you don't expect a base runner to steal third base with nobody out. Now, it's a 1-run game here, and Edgardo Alfonso offers at the pitch. Pardon me, 1 man out, which is the right time to do it, or try it. But as the count ran to 3-1, that's when Cedeno gave it a try. Now they have to bring the infield in.
3-2 pitch, and Alfonso gets jammed. Cedeno in good speed, should score. Everett's got a good arm. The throw to the plate, not in time. So Edgardo Alfonso drives in a run with a sacrifice fly, and it's now 5-3 New York.
Well, that's why you steal the base.
That's right.
You know, when you have 1 out, you want to get to third and give yourself a chance to score on an out. So the stolen base sets this up. And Carl Everett with an outstanding throw. I mean, he's got one of the better throwing arms in the entire league, but Cedeno just outruns it.
And John Olerud bounces down to first base. Bagwell catches it and bounces over to first base. That'll do it for the Mets. But here in the bottom of the sixth, they pick up a run at Gardner Alfonso to sacrifice fly.
Turk Wendell against the Houston Astros. The rivalry, which really peaked last year in that 3-game series in Houston, was fed somewhat by the animation of Turk Wendell.
And Wendell, when he's pitching, he'll throw that rosin bag. He'll show all kinds of emotions, and he will also incite the opposition. He did it in spring training, and it was Tony Gwynn told me that when he watches Turk Wendell throw that rosin bag, it gets him going. So as far as the fans, they really get into it when he fires that rosin bag down. There it is. Now, does it upset the Astros? Gotta say yes. We showed you some footage from spring training. He doesn't care. Just throw it. I like it.
And Tim Bogar, the Houston shortstop, takes up and in from Wendell. It'll be Bogar. They will no doubt pinch hit for the pitcher Chris Holt, and then back to the top of the order and Craig Biggio. Fouled straight back, 1-1. So the Mets back to a 2-run lead now. And this is where the Mets like it. It's all been thumbs up, or at least most times it has been.
Shane Reynolds looking out. Everybody's staring out at Turk Wendell. See what type of reaction they have to that rosin bag being fired down.
Bouncer snagged by Ventura from his knees. Cut a circle around that one. Well, what do you like better, Fran, the pick or the throw, considering he was on his knees? Take your pick.
He's won the Gold Glove. He's got a number of them in his house. Now watch this. Bogar hitting the ball in the dive by Ventura, and he comes up throwing. And a good reaction here by the fans at Shea. Another angle. Outstanding third baseman. Mets signed him during the offseason, paying dividends here early in '99. Another angle. We got all kinds of angles. Bang, got him. Scored 5-3.
Jack Howell, a pinch hitter for the pitcher Chris Holt, goes Ventura's way. And quickly there are 2 men out.
Turk Wendell ready for the bad hop out of Ventura's glove. That ball was hit up. Turk was jumping up in the air, pointing to the ball, and he was also pointing to Mike. Well, he signaled where the ball was to Mike Piazza, and then he looks over, and you let the third baseman make the grab. We'll see if, yeah, there goes that. Ventura made an outstanding play, then Turk Wendell throwing a rosin bag, and everybody getting excited. Watch Turk Wendell. There it is. There, Mike. Oh. He's ready in case it pops out of Robert Ventura's glove.
Craig Biggio, the batter. Boy, Turk's a front runner. He was right in Piazza's face. Then he just cast him aside as soon as he realized it was Ventura who he had to cheer for. And then he got right in Robin's face. 1-0 to Biggio. And the slider misses. 2 balls, no strikes.
I think one of the things baseball could use, and I mean not a steady diet of it, but you don't want 100 guys being colorful characters. But Turk was a colorful character in the minor leagues. He has toned it down.
Yeah, he'll go a few innings without brushing his teeth now.
That's good.
2-1 to Biggio. The licorice habit appears to be kicked.
Yeah. I remember when he was in the minor leagues, they did a long feature on him on the pennant chase, and it was really something else to watch this kid in the minor leagues who was about as eccentric as you could see. He's good for the game. I mean, it's going to upset the opposition. There's no 2 ways about it.
Missed again with a slider. It's 3-1. Turk got into the game against Friday night against the Giants, pitched 2 1/3 innings, wound up getting a save. That's because he came in a close game that the Mets eventually blew open. And by then, Bobby Valentine figured, well, no need for John Franco here. He'll save him. And Franco did pick up a save yesterday.
His 9th of the year.
Did make it interesting, though. Inside to Biggio. So a 2-out walk, and now Derek Bell against Turk Wendell. Remember, it was Bell's home run, which we've already shown you from the Houston series last year, And his mouthing the words, "Oh my God," at home plate, which ticked off some of the Met players. And it was Wendell's animation, slamming of the rosin bag and such, that ticked off some of the Houston Astros. So this is the confrontation. Bell has struck out twice, also had a base hit. Fastball for a strike.
The last pitch to Craig Biggio. Watch the way Mike Piazza catches his ball. Modern day catchers tend to catch this type of pitch a lot. The ball inside doesn't turn the glove, just bang. Pretty clever way of catching the ball. But they feel that they don't want too much glove movement. They want to be able to steal the pitch for the pitcher.
You saw that 20 years ago. Nothing in two now to Bell, so he's really got him set up for breaking balls. You probably would have, you thought he'd been crossed up, right?
Yeah, or you'd say he's a boxer. Now, here, this is a good situation here. Bell upsets the Mets. Wendell upsets the Astros. May the best man win.
Advantage Wendell, nothing in two.
And keep in mind, Bell has the ability to strike out. Good pitch right there, going inside on Bell, making him aware of that pitch. You see a guy who strikes out a lot. He strikes out a lot on breaking balls. Turk Wendell makes his living with the slider. So we'll take a look. We should see a slider. Now, he went inside with the fastball. Usually that means they're going to go away with the slider. If they go back inside, go back in bad with that fastball, they might get Bell to chase a bad ball. He might be thinking slider away. Although he's got 2 strikes, he's got to sit on a heater, even though Wendell makes his living with the slider.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. The bell has rung. The round goes to Wendell. Time to stretch at Shea. It's 5-3, New York.
You can feel the excitement when Wendell was pitching to Derek Bell, and they struck him out. Wendell has been controversial as far as the Astros are concerned, throwing the rosin bag and the oh my God home run by Derek Bell didn't help his reputation with the Mets. But with 2 strikes, you can see Mike Piazza wanting the ball inside, and he gets it. It looks like he got a lot of ball movement. And, you know, we've talked about Wendell's backup slider, and you don't throw it on purpose. You get underneath that ball too much, and it backs up. But it looked like a fastball. So they beat Bell with the fastball, and a big strikeout for Turk Wendell. So Wendell against Bell, and at least right there, Wendell gets the best of them.
Jay Powell, the former Florida Marlin, will be the pitcher for the Astros as we go to the last of the 7th inning. He'll go against Piazza, Ventura, and Kincaid. Now, Powell pitched yesterday in the 8th inning of a Houston win against his old team, the Marlins. He was the winning pitcher in extra innings of the 7th game of the World Series back in 1997. And he got booed when he got into the game yesterday in Florida, and he wasn't happy about it. After the game, he said, you know, they've got a lot of classless fans down here. He said some of them know baseball, but most of them just don't get it. He was hurt by the fact that he was the winning pitcher in the World Series, and I guess all they remembered was Renteria's hit, Counsell scoring from third. Jay Powell took it personally. Really doesn't need to. 0-1 to Piazza. Singled in a run in the 1st inning, flied to center, and bounced back to the box. 5-3 New York. And the fastball sails high. So 1-1 to Mike, who's trying to get straightened out.
Yeah, it was too bad because he was on a roll when he got hurt in Montreal. In that series, he had a long home run. But no matter how much batting practice you take, and we've talked about it before, you got to get in under game conditions and get comfortable. And we've talked about rhythm. Same thing for hitters.
Takes the fastball. It hits the outside corner. Good pitch by Powell. It's 1-2.
Good shot of Mike right there. It looked like he wasn't sure. His hands came out like he wanted to swing the bat. They collapsed. He took the pitch.
Delivery. Ripped to the right side. Biggio throws out Piazza. 1 down in the Mets 7th. Robin Ventura coming up. And coming up tonight at 11:30 on MSG, tune in for the full half-hour edition of National Finance Sports Desk with host Marv Albert. Later, keep informed on the national sports scene with Fox Sports News tonight at midnight on MSG Network. Robin Robin Ventura singled and scored in the first, was hit in the back by a pitch from Chris Holt in the third, walked intentionally in the fifth.
Try to bust Ventura in right there. We talked about the similarities earlier in the game about Ventura and Brett, how they worked with same hitting instructors or a disciple of one. As you look at the New York Life in-game box score, Ventura hit by a pitch. He's 1 for 1 in this game.
Fouled straight back.
And Howie, we were talking and you asked me about some of the theories of Charlie Lau. One theory that really upset old-time players was they were under the impression Charlie Lau wanted the hitters to release the bat with one hand upon contact. Well, later on, Charlie said that wasn't true, but the old-time players went crazy. In fact, I remember Mickey Mantle, he was very upset at the theory.
Well, you mentioned one of his disciples, Walt Riniak, who eventually was the hitting coach with the Chicago White Sox. Spent some time in Boston as well, but one of the guys that Riniak had with the White Sox was Sammy Sosa, and he absolutely disagreed with the teachings of Walt Riniak, and eventually they moved him to the Cubs, and you know the rest. 2-1 pitch hit in the air, deep right field, but the park will hold it, and so does Derek Bell. So 2 gone here in the home 7th. Mike Kincaid will be next.
One of the reasons George Brett told me that Charlie Lau was fired from the Kansas City Royals, when Clint Hurdle was a young player, he was a power hitter, drove the ball in the minor leagues. When he came to the big leagues, Charlie took him like he took George Brett, and he wanted him to hit everything to left field, loop it into left field. Well, Whitey Herzog got very upset with that theory when he turned a power hitter into a guy who was hitting the ball the other way, and that was the demise of Charlie Lau in Kansas City. Very controversial theories, but worked extremely hard with a lot of players.
We'll see Clint Hurdle when the Mets go to Denver next week. Mets will be in Phoenix this weekend. First of 2 trips out there to play the Diamondbacks. 0-2 now to Kincaid. 3 games in Arizona, 3 more in Denver against the Colorado Rockies, and then on to Philadelphia for a 3-game weekend series. That's the road trip that comes up after the Houston series. So right here, Kincaid in an 0-2 hole against Jay Powell. 2 out, nobody on in the 7th. Upstairs with Heath.
Well, Kincaid was hit by that pitch, and he was in a lot of pain early in the game. He has some type of protection on that wrist area right now. Not going to get him out of the lineup unless it's broken. Still might not get him out of the lineup.
Not a rookie. The 10-year guys with a little security, they might have gone. And now Kincaid is gone on a fastball by Powell. And Jay Powell works a 1-2-3-7. So we'll go to the 8th here at Shea. 5-3 New York. First pitch to Jeff Bagwell from Turk Wendell. Big swing and a miss. Bagwell, Everett, and Caminiti for Houston here in the 8th inning. A 2-run lead for the Mets. It's 5-3. 5-8-0 for New York. 3-5-0 for Houston. Fouled straight back, and Turk's quickly ahead 0-2 on Jeff Bagwell, a hitter that he's actually handled pretty well. 3 for 12 against Wendell. Jeff Bagwell's much better than a .250 hitter against everybody else. Turk starting his 2nd inning of work. He should have 2-out walk to Biggio in the 7th that struck out Bell to end the inning. Great movement on the breaking ball, but it drops low.
Well, Bagwell, a very strong hitter. He lifts weights throughout the year, during the season. Look at this slider. I tell you, pretty good pitch right there.
1-2 delivery. Well, came in on him.
Broke his bat. Good pitch by Wendell. They're sitting on that slider, and he comes in hard with the fastball, breaking his bat. Wendell's been known to strike out hitters in a big series in Houston last year. Here's the fastball right there. It's a pretty good idea for Wendell, because the book on Wendell is slider, slider, slider. Now he's mixing it up, and that's what happens. He got Bell with the fastball. Now you come inside, you break Bagwell's bat. You'll show him you'll throw the heater, but will he come back with the heater?
Well, I tell you, this is really
good
a
idea.
Somewhat different look, because you've talked about how real good right-hand hitters, we'll use Mark McGwire as an example, have gotten steady diets, absolute steady diets of sliders against Wendell, and he's throwing a lot of fastballs here.
But they all read the book, and when they find out you're throwing all sliders, they're going to adjust.
Line to left. Kincaid will play it on a hop. And Bagwell has a leadoff single here in the 8th inning.
Well, last year in Houston, he struck out the side.
This was after the Hundley dramatic pinch homer in the top of the inning.
A pitch right there, slider. Slider. And another slider, so 3 sliders. And in this game, he strikes out Bell. Looked like a fastball. And so Wendell is going against his own book, and he's mixing. You got to mix in some other pitches. You can't go with just one pitch.
Turk was going on fumes the last game of that Houston series, having worked at 9 straight, but he's got to be careful here. Carl Everett has real good power from both sides of the plate.
And Carl, a dead fastball hitter. He likes the heater. We saw Rick Reed pull the string on Carl Everett and get him way out in front.
Everett only 1 for 6 against Wendell. Turk behind in the count, 1-0. Bagwell at first, nobody out in the 8th. Ribbon in the air, left field. Kincaid to the warning track to haul it down. And back to first comes Bagwell, 1 away.
Everett hitting that ball hard. You mentioned the power that he has. Wendell challenging Everett, and he drove the ball to the warning track, a line drive. The ball was running away from Everett, and he hits the ball, it looks like towards the end of the bat, and stays in the park. This is crunch time now for Turk Wendell, wanting to get to the 8th inning. Should say the 9th. Armando Benitez warming up in the bullpen, I believe.
Ken Caminetti against Wendell, 2 for 5. Both hits homers, but this one's a double play. Right to Olerud, and the side retired. A leadoff hit by Bagwell, but he's nailed it first. And in the middle of the 8th inning here at Shea, it's 5-3 New York. Tomorrow night, make sure to join us on Metro Guide for Game 2 of New York's homestand against the Astros. First pitch is at 7, then Wednesday, 7:30. The Mets right back on Fox Sports Net New York against Houston. Plenty of Mets baseball coming up this week, so please check your local listings. Well, the Mets with a 2-run lead. They'll take at least that big an advantage into the 9th inning. Brian McRae, Ray Ordonez, and probably a pinch hitter for Turk Wendell, because we're getting into John Franco's time of the night.
Got John's now warming up at the bullpen, and Turk Wendell's come in and once again thrown the ball very well, but mixing the pitches up more tonight than he has in the past. Now you see Larry Durker and Matt Galante talking about that lineup card. Matt is his bench coach. Matt, a long-time coach with the Houston Astros. He'll sit right next to Larry Durker on that bench, and he's always communicating with him.
Well, the Mets have already used a switch hitter, Bobby Bonilla, as a pinch hitter.
Matt was a second baseman with the St. John's University team, graduate of St. John's, and signed a professional contract, played some minor league ball, and then did some managing.
And now Brian McRae. Told you all during April how slow his starts have been. Doug Henry coming on to do the pitching now in relief of Jay Powell, who worked a 1-2-3-7. Henry, the former Met, and a fastball, a high strike called to Brian McRae. Allender went to May 1st over the weekend, and McRae celebrated with a grand slam. 237 lifetime hitter during the month of April. He's had some pretty difficult Aprils. This one had him down on the interstate. You know, the Mets have won 5 in a row. They haven't been able to gain any ground on the Atlanta Braves, who've also won 5 straight. So the Mets came in tonight a game and a half behind Atlanta, who are tied with St. Louis 1-1 in the 6th inning. But the idea here is not to think wild card, right? I mean, shoot for the top. Mets co-owner Fred Wilpon certainly does in our Budweiser quote book for tonight. He says, listen, We're looking at first place here. And you got to agree with them.
It's tough to, I know it's the arena has changed. You have wild card teams as Brian McRae strikes out, but it's tough to start a season thinking that you're going to win the wild card. You got to start the season thinking you're going to win a division, especially the way the Mets have gone out and built up this ball club. I mean, you go out, you re-sign Mike Piazza. Now, I like this. You're looking at the scoreboard in May. I think it's a good idea. I mean, the Mets have built up a good ball club. They signed Mike Piazza. You bring in Robin Ventura, Ricky Henderson. Steve Phillips had a lot of work this offseason, and he got a lot of new talent in his ball club and re-signed some guys.
Hit hard, a base hit for Ordonez. So Ray Ordonez 2 for 4. Doug Henry giving up a 1-out single. And Matt Franco has been moving the bat around in the on-deck circle, will hit for Turk Wendell.
Well, this is what the Mets want. They want Ordonez to put that ball on the ground, send it up the middle, send it to the right side. And Ordonez does it right there, picking up a base hit, his second hit of the game, so that average is starting to creep up. Vern Rule in contact, I'm sure, with the bullpen. So Ray Ordonez increasing his value when he increases his offensive production. Keep in mind the Mets go at it again tomorrow night here at Shea Stadium, the second game of this 3-game series.
Doug Henry, the former Met, who's been hit hard the first month of this season, facing Franco, and he's not even close with that fastball. Henry's now given up 15 hits over 8 2/3 innings. So far, he's been responsible for 8 earned runs, 10 overall. This is a guy who at one time was a closer with Milwaukee. That's Trevor Miller, the left-hander, getting ready in the Astro bullpen. The Mets have a switch hitter, Cedeno, on deck, and a right-hander to follow in Alfonso. You have to get past Alfonso before you get a pure left-hand batter after Franco. It's John Olerud.
The Astros not really content with their middle relievers. They're hoping they'll be more productive, but the guy out of the bullpen who was tied with John Franco in saves, Billy Wagner, is a real plus. And there's a guy we talked earlier who knows his pitching, Larry Durker.
3-0 now to Franco. Matt had a big pinch hit yesterday, but it was his legs that turned out to be the story, as he scored from first base for the second time this year with a winning run.
He do that in Montreal?
Yep.
From first to home on a base hit off the bat of Todd Pratt.
All 4 to Franco.
He'll
He'll jog to first base here.
But he'll tell you all the time, boy, I can run. How many guys have scored on a single twice within a few weeks from first to home?
New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by OmniPoint, the exclusive wireless carrier of the New York Mets. Gentlemen, start your engines.
And we saw a wireless carrier going from first to home in yesterday's game, Matt Franco. Here's another guy who can run, Roger Cedeno. Oh, this is embarrassing. Matt Franco's coming out of the game for pinch run. How can they do that to him?
Running for Matt Franco.
Well, you know, you got the bases in front of him a little jammed up with Ordonez at second base, so he can't turn on those wheels quite as aggressively as he has on the occasions we've talked about. Franco came around from first yesterday on the play that was bobbled in left center field by the shortstop Ramon Martinez. And now it's Cedeno taking ball 1.
Yesterday, perfect fundamentals. Watch this man run. Matt Franco going all the way. Nothing can stop him. He's breathing hard. Look at him, exhaling as he runs. Scoring from first base. He did it in Montreal earlier in the year.
And a good read, too, by Franco. High to Cedeno, because he determined, given the way the wind had been blowing and the hang time on the ball, really between first and second, he determined, listen, if this ball drops in, the only thing I'm going to try to do is come around to score. I'm not worried about third base here. I'm worried about home plate. And there was really no play on him.
And how about this? You do that, you did it twice in a month, they put in a pinch runner for you.
Well, you know, they'd want to show everybody up around here.
He's got to get into Bobby Valentine after the game and discuss this. Imagine doing that. Bobby'd say, what are you doing here? Jermaine Allensworth, the pinch runner who has very good speed.
2-1 now to Cedeno.
Yeah, Matt, I mean, this guy obviously doesn't run with that guy, Matt Franco. But Matt left first base eagerly.
2 balls, 1 strike, 1 out. Ordonez at second, Allensworth at first. And now the count evens 2-2. Boy, Cedeno really used his wheels last time up. I mean, talking about guys running and helping themselves. He hit a line drive off the glove of Caminetti and immediately decided, I'm trying for second base. He made the decision probably before he got into the runner's track between home and first that he was headed for second. So he slid in safely, then stole third with 1 out, which allowed him to score on an out, put him in position to do so. And that's exactly what he did on the Alfonso sacrifice fly. Here it's 2-2. The runners go. The pitch in, on the inside corner, strike 3, and out at third is Ordonez.
Well, that's the best time to throw when a left-hander's batting. It was a good throw. Neil Ordonez to third base.
In business. Well, Doug Henry got out of some trouble in the last of the 8th inning. The count was 2-2 on Roger Cedeno. Ordonez, the runner at second, broke for third. Allensworth, the runner at first, broke for second. And Cedeno jackknifed away from a pitch that he took for a call, strike 3. Ordonez out at third.
And it was a good throw by Bacco, the catcher. In fact, Paul Bacco made a nice throw, and Ken Caminetti get the tag on Ordonez. But here's the story now. John Franco in the ball game. He's been in 11 games and 9 saves, leading the National League in saves. He fought yesterday to get his 9th save, but he's been perfect this year as far as save situations are concerned. And this will be a big one right here for the Mets as we go to the top of the 9th inning. Jermaine Allensworth stays in the ball game.
He goes to left field. Mike Kincaid comes out of the game. So the Mets outfield left to right now. Allensworth, McRae, and Cedeno. Richard Hidalgo hit the 2-run home run off of Rick Reed in the 6th inning, which brought Houston to within a run. Off the outside corner, 1-0.
And Hidalgo picked up his 6th home run of the season, hit the ball, looked like off the end of the bat, but he drove it over the center field fence, and that's our Dodge drive of the game. So Hidalgo, very dangerous with that bat. 6 home runs, 14 RBIs.
It looked like the slider from John Franco. 1-1 to Hidalgo.
Well, we talked about early in the game making adjustments to be successful in the major leagues. You saw Turk Wendell go from a steady diet of sliders to now he's mixing in fastballs. And John Franco's worked on a slider this year for the first time.
Foul down the right field line. 1-2.
There's a Delta schedule coming up. You see Fox Sports Net New York tomorrow and Wednesday, 7 o'clock tomorrow, 7:30 on Wednesday. Then we're off to Arizona. Keep in mind, now check that out, Metro Channel tomorrow night, not Fox Sports Net New York. Metro Channel, 7 p.m. start. Wednesday, 7:30, we're back on Fox Sports Net New York. And then we're in Arizona Friday, Saturday, Sunday's game on Channel 11.
That's Metro Guide. Tomorrow night. 1-2 to Hidalgo. And Franco deals. Low.
But with those 2 strikes, you saw Mike Piazza get down there and keep the ball in front of him. Kept his hand behind his back and still get down and blocked it.
Al Leiter, given the extra day's rest after tweaking his knee last week, starts tomorrow night against Mike Hampton. But first things first, Mets leading here by 2 in the 9th. The 2-2 pitch in the air, right field. Cedeno there, 1 man away.
Hidalgo said, I shall not pass. I'm swinging at everything. He hit that ball hard. It looked like a heater out of the strike zone. He's swinging a good bat for the Astros, but he has a lot of pressure on him to fill those shoes by Moise Salou. Fastball up high, and Hidalgo gets on top of it, hit the ball hard. The Astros are very high on him. In fact, they felt he was going to be hurt last year when he wasn't able to play every day, but he's going to get his opportunity now.
So with 1 out, Franco will face Russ Johnson, pinch hitter, who's put up some pretty impressive minor league numbers. Johnson brought up after the injury to Ricky Gutierrez, the starting shortstop. There's a strike, 0-1. So John Franco, who blew a couple of saves, took a couple of losses against the Astros last year. Trying to get off to a good start against them this time and hit double digits in saves. 0-2 on Johnson.
Well, John Franco said, you know what? He's got some pretty impressive numbers in the minor leagues. I'm going to see if he can hit the ball that bounces. Now, John Franco has an 0-2 count on his right-hander. You got to believe he's going to make him swing at something out of the strike zone. John has spent a long time making a career at getting major league hitters to chase bad pitches.
The 0-2 delivery, way off the plate. Franco, along with Billy Wagner of the Astros and Rob Nett of the Giants, tied for the league lead with 9 saves. Larry Dierker's team has a 4-game winning streak in significant jeopardy here. Mets looking to make it 6 wins in a row. The 1-2 delivery, in there for a called strike 3.
You get a young hitter, I'm sure the veterans and Larry Dierker said when you go up there, he'll pitch you out of the strike zone. You got to be patient. You got to wait. You got to wait. And Johnson said, I'll look for the ball. I'll look for the bad ball. And John Franco showed him a couple bad balls, and then bang, fastball inside corner.
So 2 out, nobody on. The last hope for the Astros is Tim Bogar, the former Met. 0 for 3 in the game, robbed by Ventura at third, his last time up. And a bouncer to Ordonez. Put it in the books. The Mets have a 6-game winning streak. And Franco has his league-leading 10th save.
He was honored here Saturday. He's had a John Franco Day here in New York where he was born and brought up, and he's Bobby Valentine's closer. So John Franco ruining Larry Dierker's night. You gotta have a strong chest to play at this club. What's gonna be the next famous handshake? Is that a handshake?
We'll count it as one. Strong chests and relievers need strong stomachs. 5-3 your final tonight. We're coming back to Shea right after this.